So we are back for more Book of Denis. It's the end of part 1. And once again, we have questions about what is it, retconning or is it me? Because I don't know sometimes. But we're here with Everett. Say hello.
Hello. Sure.
Here we go. All right. So shall we dig in? Since I know your time is always limited, let me get back to the beginning of my notes on this section. There we go. Okay. It's hard to summarize like little sections because I always try to do a little summary of it. But basically the summary of this little part is Atris is extremely very super crazy sure that they've found an age with survivors in it based on basically like 3 clues, such as an area being cleaner than the rest of the city. He makes a huge pile of assumptions that are not validated in any way whatsoever, and then that leaves them back at square one with the project a little bit. And there's just like a lot of reflection about Gen and Anna in this section. So a lot of this is not action, it's just like taking place in memories and thoughts, which is fine. I mean, it just makes it hard to summarize. Because it's like, how do I summarize? People thought about people who are dead a lot? I don't know. How do you summarize that? That's what it is, basically. That's a lot of the section, or a lot of what was interesting about it. Because, I mean, I guess technically there is a little bit of travel back and forth between places, but like, it wasn't super important. What was more important was the thinking, like the reflection on things, what that said about characters and what that said about our authors retconning things for the 400th time. Because there's a little bit of that again, always. Like, they can't stop themselves. I don't know if they needed a continuity editor or if they just didn't want that. I think the latter, if I had to be real. I think Rand was just ready to change continuity at any moment. But let's see. My first little quote is a little bit reflection, I guess. It's talking about Atris, and he's in the city, and he says, he walked on, aware for the first time in his life just how strong the connection was between himself and this ancient place, a connection of blood. And though he was only one part in 4 Denis, that did not dilute what he felt. And I'm like, oh, wow, all right. And there's no way that the authors meant to be making a commentary or starting a conversation on, like, at what point is it heritage and at what point are you culturally appropriating because, like, you're not part of that culture? Mm-hmm. But they did anyway. But I also think this would have read very differently in the 90s because I just don't think there was quite that awareness culturally that might be a thing that you should watch out for or maybe not not do.
I didn't take that as having any sort of connection to the Nuremberg laws, and then in the U.S. the laws about the definition of white and black and all of that.
Right. I mean, I don't think that
at all.
No, I don't think it's connected to that. I think it's just more like it's more the idea of like he has no experience with this culture. He's one quarter. And it's like, does he have a deep connection of blood to this place? I mean, I don't know that he does. He does have a connection, but it would be like, you know, anybody just trying to define themselves by being one quarter anything that they've never experienced the culture of. It's not so much about legal status or anything. It's just more like, where is the line? Like, I don't think that there would be a problem. Like, it wouldn't read the same to me if he was more wanting to learn. Mm-hmm. But this hits as, I already know everything just because I'm a quarter Denis. And it's like, no, you don't. You literally don't. Like, you literally don't know that these people would reject you wholeheartedly because you are only a quarter. by blood. So, like, sure, I'm sure the survivors could have changed at this point, and we know they must have, based on Myst 3. He gathers survivors who apparently are willing to allow this idiot to write them an age, for reasons that have to do with him being a Mary Sue, just like his grandfather before him. Why didn't Gen get that treatment, by the way? Like, he's the only person in the family who didn't get the treatment of, like, everything going his way all the time 100%. I'm not saying he should have, because they made him a villain, but it is a little weird. So it's just, I don't think it even would have been on my radar in the 90s, even if I were the age that I am now, but in 1997. Certainly at the time in 1997, I was not of an age where I would think of it at all. But in the 2020s, with what I'm aware of now, it's just a little bit like, I don't know about that. It's not like super important. It's just like it keeps coming up in this book where it's just like, yes, I am Master Atris. I know everything, and also I'm like essentially 100% Denis. And it's like, no, you're not, and you don't know everything. you know two different people's stories, which were both colored by their own needs to narrate things a specific way. You don't know. You just don't know the real situation.
And I do think that the a connection of blood comment is inconsistent with what he was doing just in the last, what we were talking about in the last episode, where he just lets loose all of these Averone students,
Yeah.
And just expects that they're going to be they'll be welcome too by
right, because he's
anyone.
Considering it. I think what you said last time was like he's considering it less of a definition of blood and more of a definition of culture. Like if you know the art at all, or you know about it, or you can read the language, like that counts somehow.
I think actually, I think that in those two passages in combination, I think just go to show he doesn't have a definition.
Yeah, or the definition is malleable.
Yeah, or he's
Yeah.
he's not thinking this through.
Well, I mean, that's pretty obvious, just in general. Where is the thought? I feel like he lost like 100 IQ points in this book. I don't know. It's like, you want me to like him and you want me to think he's smart, but you're doing everything in your power to not make me like him and make me think he's stupid. But
actually, if anything, what he should have thought of at that point is a connection of eyesight, because that is the one actual
that is the trait that
he shares with
right
with the Dutch.
Yeah, that is the only trait that we know of.
Yeah,
that he shares, genetically. Although I did pull a quote from that later where I'm like, I'm not sure that they know how glasses work, but all right. I mean, obviously Rand does. I think he's wearing glasses the entire time, but like, I think it's a matter of glasses technology is what I concluded in my thoughts. Let's see, what's the next quote about? The next quote is where I need you to fact check me and help me remember, because like, and maybe I don't know Spiper's level of depth on Myst lore, but maybe Spiper can help as well. So this quote it starts with Marm speaking. So there's a book. Just one? Marm nodded. Atris was silent a moment. His grandfather, Atris, also just with the I, had been the owner of 2 ages. One, Koa, had been handed down over 8 generations and was the family retreat. The other, Gemedet, named after the complex 3-dimensional game played by the Denis, had been written by him and I'm not even going to try to say this properly because I have no idea how they would say it, but Arotanti, or Outworlder, who in time had become his grandmother, Anna. Oh no, it's gonna be a little bit later that I need more fact checking, but this did strike me as a little bit weird, because I guess Grandpa Atris did technically inherit it, because technically Kalis died before he died, but it didn't feel like he inherited anything because like it was an emergency situation and that felt weird. Now here's where did they ever bring up that word for Outworlder in the entire like bazillion pages of the previous book? In Book of Tiana, did we ever hear that word?
I wondered that as well, and I did not recall. it
Because
could
it
be that
seems
it's
like it would have
being
been
introduced
said.
here.
Because, like, wouldn't that be one of the first words that Anna would, like, learn if it had been a word that
Probably.
had been said? Because it would have been said around her all the time.
Mhm.
She would know that word. And like, it would be a thing that you could absolutely introduce when she was still in prison because she would have heard it and it could have been like, I keep hearing this word. I don't know what it means yet, but I think it's about me. Would have been a perfect time to put it in. They didn't do that,
Well,
but at least I don't think they did.
because I have the magic power of Kindle
Yeah,
keyword
can you
searches,
control F it? Yeah.
I yeah, actually will have
Okay.
uh, an answer here in a minute.
All right. So Spiper says, have directly read Book of Atris and about 2/3 of Book of Denise. Still need to read Book of Tiana, but aware of what happens in it. If you're aware of what happens in it, you can skip it. Trust me, do not read it. You do not need to.
No, read everything. They're good.
That one,
Remember, I am still a
really,
fan of the first two books.
honestly, this book is so far written better than the second one. And if I had to recommend 2 out of 3, regardless of content, but just reading experience, it would be Book of Atris in this one. Book of Tiana
Mm.
is like, that was such a slog. I don't know what went on with that. Maybe if you don't mind 50 years of useless setup, sure. Because and I mean in world years, not so much real life years, although it'll just feel like it, but the beginning of that book is just the worst. At least this one jumps in and it's relevant right away.
It's the word. It's just it, you have to know you're getting what you're buying is a very immersive experience in the Guild of Surveyors, which means a
But you
lot of
don't
discussion
learn
of
very
blocks.
okay. It helps if you don't know anything about rocks, I think. Spiper, do you know
Yes,
anything about
yes.
rocks? Because if you don't know anything about rocks, you'll be fine. If you do know anything about rocks, you'll have a heart attack. Okay. So there was a literal 4-hour stream that was nothing really but me yelling about how little they know about rocks and teaching everybody the right things about rocks instead. Um, because they like to write about them. They don't know about them. Not exactly an expert on rocks. You'll probably be fine. You won't be upset by it. You might be bored, but you won't be upset by it. So, you know,
So I
maybe go
can
ahead.
now I now can confirm that Aratanti, which I assume that's the pronunciation, uh,
Yeah,
is in the 2025 edition is new in this book.
that's what I thought because
And
I
I'm
didn't
going to.
remember ever seeing it,
Mhm.
and it felt like something that you would have heard. It would have been
Yeah.
useful. I don't know. That would have been decent world building about the language and her learning it, but no. That's why it's not there, I guess.
I mean, it's not.
Uh,
We didn't need it, but
no, I'm not saying we
now
needed
we
it,
have
but
it.
like it feels weird here. It stands out. It's like, why are you giving me this word in like a book where, well, I mean, I guess it is useful now because that's what literally all of these people are,
Mhm.
including Atris. Even though he has a quarter Denis blood, like they would still call him that, I'm sure, or something worse, probably because he's mixed blood. But and again, obviously things changed post-fall for people who were survivors, and that makes sense because, as your culture fractures like that, you would have to. But like, if you're just talking the civilization that we know,
Mhm.
they would not be best pleased. As to like the inheritance, it just felt weird. Like when I read it, I was like, wait, he didn't own it. And then I was like, I guess technically he did because his father died first, but he owned it for like a week. I don't know if that counts, but sure.
I actually think, and I did not think of that when I read that sentence, but yes,
Yeah.
it's I I think I think that it, it makes some sense from Atris II's perspective
Hmm.
because because Collis and Tessera are even more removed from him.
Right. I don't know how much
Right.
Anna would have even told him about them, even though she lived with them for quite some time.
Right. Yeah,
Um,
and it could be that she hasn't um, said much about them.
yeah. I mean, that is
Um,
something that I addressed in my notes at some point here, which was basically the idea that I do not believe intentionally, because I have now had over 2 books of experience with these authors, and I don't trust their skills, to say the very least. But they have set themselves up very conveniently where they can retcon things and just blame it on the fact that all of Atrus's knowledge in this book comes from what people have told him. And people are not reliable even when they try to be. And Gen was absolutely unreliable. And we also know Anna would be unreliable as well, because her story is going to be affected by how much survivor's guilt and trauma she had about everything. And so I would imagine that some things did get rewritten intentionally or not when she's telling the story, because she would maybe want to omit certain things that made her feel guilty or upset. And
mhm.
like, we know that that's true if we, in as much as we can psychoanalyze these people at all, because of who's writing them, but because she basically waited until her deathbed to tell him like all of the important stuff, it sounds like.
Mhm.
Because we find that out in this passage, that it's like, he pictures, well, I know I pulled the quote, but like it it's it sounds like she certainly held back on information for a very, very long time. And so at
Yeah,
that point, like, it's extra years removed, she's had extra emotional weight put on things, like, we don't know how reliable her tale is. So
mhm.
anything that doesn't track with previous books, they can always just, if you questioned the authors directly, they can always come back and be like, yeah, well, but he only knows what they told him, so like, of course he's wrong. And it's like, okay, you have an excuse, but I still think that mostly when things are wrong, they're just they're just not good at deciding that continuity is important. But unless it's Gen, in which case, like, that feels more deliberate, because they deliberately set him up as an unreliable narrator. And I think um
Mhm.
I don't think they deliberately set Anna up as, but I wrote as the last line of my note on that previous passage was, these authors will seriously be the death of me.
Well, I will say I'm okay with some of that cause and contradictions. I think that because so much of
Yeah,
Miss story is about these generational
yeah,
these these gaps and conflicts and connections between generations.
yeah.
So I'm okay with that. I mean,
I
it's certainly
I
better than the
had to,
excuse that
yeah.
it's certainly better than the excuse that Cyan and the DRC entered into a non-disclosure agreement. I mean, that's you know.
I mean, once it took me a little while into my notes on this section to kind of just like accept that intentionally or not was the way I was going to have to look at it. Whether the authors intended to create an excuse of unreliable narrator or not, I was just going to have to buy into that, and that I was going to have to buy into my interpretation of Anna as not being a reliable narrator because of her trauma, um,
Mhm.
because that makes a better story and I can enjoy it. So I don't mind it so much now. I still just want to note that I don't believe that they did that intentionally. That I do believe that the retcons are just retcons in reality, if you're looking at it in a meta perspective. But I do like the explanation that it is about the generational trauma and the generational disconnects. I
Mhm.
just think that they stumbled on it. I don't think that aspect of it was meant to be. But then also for Spiper and anybody else in the audience, understand that I have become increasingly cynical about these men the longer I read their books. So I am not a favorable judge of their writing abilities at this point, and have not been for quite a few hundred pages. So uh I miss
And
semicolon guy with a passion. Although I feel
and
like
I
we
will
might have gotten a. Oh, hey, Astro Argo, welcome.
Miss Orca, and we need to congratulate her for this last week. She beat Riven 2024,
Oh, hey.
and with just a couple of clues. So that was a
Nice.
big that was a big accomplishment.
It was a big
Uh,
accomplishment. I would assume that Astro Orca is better at remembering her way around the place than I was with mine. Since some of what happened when I was playing it was my chat going, "Are you blind? Are you dumb? Or like, what is happening that you don't remember where this is? Haven't we been to this same place 27 times now and you can't figure out to go left?" Like, no,
yeah,
I
that
couldn't.
for the standards of a game replay, yeah, that was kind of sad.
Okay, to be fair, it had been like literally minimum 15 years since I had played Riven 1997 because I played 2024 first and then I went back and played 97 after because I was like, was my memory bad? Was your guys' memory bad? My memory was bad was the answer because it's always the answer. In fact, literally hilariously, I'm looking at a note right now that's on my sheet that says maybe my memory is terrible. It is. It is. My memory is bad, all right? For certain things. For other things, because my brain is not neurotypical, I remember certain things that are useless with absolute crystal certain clarity, and other things, important things, they're gone in 25 seconds. So yeah, congratulations though. What did you think of it, Orca? What did you think of 2024 Riven? And I don't know if you've played 1997, but any differences between the two?
Yeah, she has
Give us
not
your
yet
review.
played that. I have strongly encouraged
Oh
her
yeah, yeah,
to do
yeah.
so.
If you liked 2024 Riven, absolutely you should play 97 Riven, and I think you would at least find the differences interesting. Because then I think you get a better appreciation for what they did change if you've played both of them.
So while we're talking about that, I just wanted to say that as you were talking about the whole Atris owning the two ages,
Right.
I've been thinking about the fact that in my life I have, well, visited isn't quite the right word, but I have driven by as a older person two of my grandparents' childhood homes.
Oh.
And I think in both cases, I was trying to think at the time, did I say to myself, this was my grandparents' home, or this was my great grandparents' home? And I think in my mind, it was more, this was my grandparents' home, even though at the
Mhm.
time, right, it would, anyone in the
Right.
neighborhood would say it was the great grandparents' home because my
Right,
grandparents were
because
just a
they
little
were the
kid.
kids. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I see what you
And
mean.
so
It's who you have the connection to.
yeah, so
Yeah.
there is some logic in the perspective there.
Mm.
Um,
It
and
does. Yeah.
looking
Now
at
that you
the
mention it, I mean that does make sense because he's obviously not going to think about Collis, even if he knows about him nearly as much as he would think about his grandfather. Astro Orca says it was so nostalgic. I played 97 briefly when I was young, but I don't remember a whole lot. I liked it though. It's definitely the most difficult puzzle game I've played, but it was so rewarding when I was correct in solving. You haven't played Myst 4. I would say there's a definite like uh curve in difficulty, and not necessarily because the puzzles are well constructed for between like Riven 2024 and Myst 4. Um
and neither of you have
so
played Path of the Shell, and if anyone gets through that game on their own, that's
if
something.
if I do pick it up, I promise you I won't be getting through it on my own. I needed help with Myst 4, if you remember. So uh I will not be getting through it by myself. Riven 97 was really good at the payoff for getting things right. Yeah, and I feel like 2024 kind of kept that feel. That was one thing that I thought that they did well was that other than the acted segments, which were now 3D models that looked appalling, getting the feel of of it overall, I felt they did a pretty good job at matching the sense of the game in general, even though there were things that they changed, which I think you would find interesting, or if you wanted to do 97 again. I think revisiting it, having just done 2024, which was the order that I did it in. I played 24 and then I went back to 97. It does give you an appreciation for what they did do with it. Some of the things you will be able to just walk straight through because you've just done 2024. Other things you will not be able to just walk straight through based on your memory of 2024, which I thought was good that they changed it because it's like, do you really want people who are familiar with the 1997 version to just be able to like walk straight through it? I don't think that is a valuable play experience. So I think changing things was necessary to some degree. And I think they did a decent job at choosing what they changed.
Well,
Do you want to
and
move on
also
to?
I think that Cyan came to the realization that it cannot just keep George Lucasing its products forever and expect to actually make money off of it.
Want to bet? Because they might. Look, I don't know if they're planning on, because I don't remember. I know we've talked about it, and I think maybe you had some news about it, but I don't know if they're planning on a Myst 3 remake. What I can tell you is it ain't Myst 3 without Brad Dourif, so.
Yeah, they have never either actually or abortively announced any Myst 3 remake, and I
the
would certainly be
rights,
opposed to it if they did.
they might not be able to, because I don't know what rights Ubisoft has for 3 and 4.
Well,
I mean, like they have Cyan has the rights to the IP, but do they have the rights to essentially copy that game? It's a different set of things, as I understand, in terms of like what you can own about it.
My understanding is that in the last maybe 3 or so years ago, Cyan has now reacquired all of the IP.
Spiper does also make a point that Ubisoft would probably want to delist the original Myst 3 if anyone released a remake. That is entirely possible that they would do that, or that they might have to. I don't know if Cyan flexed their ownership, it might force Ubisoft to delist it. But I really wish that they won't, because again, it's like it has a certain feel and it has a certain something to it because of the acting, and like if you tried to replace that with those soulless plastic dolls that they do in 3D, it wouldn't be Exile. Like it just wouldn't be. Even if they took the same voice clips, like it wouldn't be. I would struggle to justify playing it.
Yeah, it would be amazing to me if after they lick their current wounds, they come out and do a Myst 3 remake. That sounds bizarre to me, but anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. They remade the first two, so anything is possible as far as I'm concerned. Who knows? Who knows? Do you want to move on to the next little passage here, or did you have anything else to say about what we've talked about so far, book-wise?
No, I'll just tell you, I have a fairly long list of comments myself.
Oh, okay.
Some
okay.
which we're
yeah.
touching on, but yeah, keep going
okay.
through yours.
Yeah, anytime that you have something where it like makes sense to put your comment there, just jump in and let me know that you have it.
I'll fill it in as much as possible. Yeah.
So this is literally what I was just talking about, which was Anna leaving things till like the last minute to explain. For a moment, he had glimpsed his grandmother Anna in her final illness, Catherine by her bedside, the old lady's pale, flecked hands caged within Catherine's younger, stronger fingers, and recalled what she had told him then about those final days. And as he recalled that moment, he felt a strong, almost violent urge to see Koa, to link to it and see with his own eyes where his father Gen was born, where Anna had nursed him through that first almost fatal illness, which, first of all, she was taking some damn credit for something that her husband did. Because it was totally Atris who took Gen out of Denis to nurse him. Totally him. I also thought he brought him to Gemedet, not Koa, but maybe I'm wrong. Didn't he bring him to his age?
So he may have. That part I don't remember. It certainly is. Yeah, it certainly is Atris who took Gen there for the little outing.
Yeah. I can't speak to remembering whether he was born on Koa, but I feel like that would at least make sense because it's probably like a tradition thing at this point. Or at that point, I guess. So like that.
Yeah,
I didn't worry about, but
Sarah would have wanted him to be born on.
Oh yeah.
And so
I would imagine that would. Yeah. Like I said, I think there would be a certain amount of pressure for tradition there, but I could have sworn that Atris brought him to Gemedet and not to Koa. I could be wrong about that, but it was definitely him. It was not Anna. I don't know if she like deliberately took credit or if she just didn't explain clearly. Because I mean, she did join them, but he took Gen first.
Yeah. Now it says, I mean, it does say Anna had nursed him through. So
sure, and she did spend a lot of time nursing him through that illness before he was even taken out of Denis.
Yeah.
But fair. And you know what? Like that would have been like a huge traumatic thing for her to deal with her first and only child like dying, and then the doctor telling her the equivalent of you should just put him down. It would be the kinder thing. Which like horrifying, despite what Gen, grows up to be, is like, how seriously, dude, you're looking at it's a baby. How could you do anyway? So that just, it was like, excuse me. And then in my notes I talk about like the unreliable narrator thing that we already talked about, and that it was probably Anna's trauma that changed the narrative to a certain extent.
Yeah, and to me it makes this is another area where it would make sense that this is the sort of thing Atris II would get wrong.
Oh yeah. Well, that is, I guess, the other factor is like it's not just who's telling it; it's the recipient of the information.
Yeah.
So,
I need to pause here and say something, which is that I can't believe how much I'm defending this book, because I mean, as I have said for some time, right? I have a great deal of disdain for this book. This book and I have a very antagonistic relationship, but I part of it is the part one is starting off pretty well. I mean, fairly well. There are some issues along the way, and I think I'm just trying to be as positive as I can while I can, because there is a day that's coming when I don't know what I'm going to do during an episode. I mean, it may just be Roger, you're just going to turn to me and say, and what's Everett's comment on this? And all everybody's going to hear is just some faint moaning in the background. I do not know how I'm going to handle some upcoming episodes.
I can't wait.
So for now, I'm very happy to be positive about some things.
I look forward to those days because that's going to be very entertaining after all of the almost incoherent rage I had during the previous book. But I'm not ruling out the possibility that I might not completely hate this book.
That's possible.
Certainly, I feel like the writing itself has gone up a step since the previous one, so I'll take it. Look, I'll take it after the last one. Can we get fewer like literally published errors? That would be lovely. So I'll take it, but it'll be interesting if we are both incoherently babbling and moaning about whatever happens. Chances are I will just become if it is bad from my perspective, I'll just get wordier probably, because like I said, 4-hour stream about talking about the rocks. as long as they don't bring up rocks, there's a chance of me keeping things briefer, but we'll see.
Mhm.
That was just like, you have touched on one of my areas of interest, and you have been wrong. How dare you? I will still point out libraries existed in the 90s, even though they didn't have the internet. They could have gotten it right. It's not like rock science has changed all that much in the last, 30 years, but whatever. So,
Well,
yeah, I mean, you do make a point about Atris getting it wrong, and he is trying to collate two inaccurate tales because he got information from Gen. And imagine that we take it at face value that what we saw Gen tell him about the fall is what he heard,
mhm,
and that Anna told him the truth on her deathbed, right? How mind-bending is that for him?
mhm.
Because he would have gone decades at that, like at least, what, 2 decades, at 15 years maybe minimum, thinking that it was like a social uprising, and then he finds out this whole story?
Yeah, to me at this point, I am not sure what Atris II knows and when he learned it. I think
Yeah,
that is not that's hard to piece together because one
yeah,
passage that did really stand out to me that I had forgotten is he oh it's so he it says that with respect to the quote faint yellow brown residue close quote
mhm,
Atris II is he just thinks it's maybe natural
right. Yeah,
to that
and
it's
it's
like
it's not. We
moss or
know it's
something. But
not.
yeah,
Yeah,
and so that's really because he could only think that, and I think that what the text was saying is that that's his current understanding. He does not know
yeah.
why there's that residue there, and that would
I
have to
I
be
don't think he does.
because
Yeah.
that and so to me that sounded like this book is doubling down on um, Gen actually having said his account from the Book of Atris.
Right.
Because it's
I mean,
possible at this point that they could retcon what Gen said, but it seems
sure,
like they're
sure.
doubling down on that, which is, I mean, commendable, I suppose.
I mean, I don't know if they are, because it's hard to say. Like, if let's say you retconned what Gen said, and so he didn't tell him a story about, a social unrest, and he did
Mhm.
try to tell him a story about what actually happened. He was 8. And so any knowledge that he really has would be from any writings left over, and there would be hardly anything because everybody was off world and dying.
Yeah,
So he
yeah,
would have almost no information. He would have pieced it together from incorrect trauma memories as a child and anything Anna said. It would still be wrong. I mean, it wouldn't probably be about a social uprising, but it would still be wrong. So,
yeah, yeah.
plus add in that Gen is not going to believe a damn thing that Anna tells him,
Right.
you know, because he came to hate
It's just yeah,
his mother.
it's hard. There's it's hard, and partially, I mean, partially, I think this part of the story here is inaccurate
Mm,
narration, and that's because the characters are who they are. But because
yeah,
there is that scene where Gen stands at Sarah's grave and has that kind of emotional moment,
yeah,
um, and he knows because he's just watched her die
right.
from illness,
Oh
right?
yeah,
So he didn't.
but does he
So
know that the illness was the fall?
and they maybe and who knows, right? At that point,
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm
what
not
his
sure an
comprehension
8-year-old is
is.
making that connection,
Mhm.
but it's a little hard to say how much he was aware. And then how much that would change in his mind over the years. I mean, memory gets rewritten and altered, and so
Yeah.
even if he had a clarity in the moment, like, let's say that it gets wrapped up in him denying that his mother was ever right about literally anything, if she reinforces that thought, he might very well just deny it, like rewrite it in his
Mhm.
mind. Um, the more and more he came to just dig in his heels on hating her. Which
Yes.
again,
Yeah.
I would love to know about the years between the fall and the beginning of Book of Atris, because it seems like Gen's life between 8 and 19 would be absolutely important and interesting to know, but we have apparently elected not to talk about that. So, because it would be important and interesting. Which is disappointing. I think that would be absolutely a fascinating period of time to learn about. Because how did he go from being an angry 8-year-old to being what he was, you know? But sure, we don't have that information. I'm sure somebody has written fanfic for it somewhere. But
And there's more story, certainly
yeah.
more story
Oh yeah,
told
yeah.
there.
But I mean, you're right. I hadn't really honestly thought about him not understanding what the residue was, but he doesn't. I genuinely don't think that he does.
Mm-hmm.
And unless survivors explain it to him, I don't expect he ever really will. I
Yeah.
mean, his
Yes.
sources are gone, so.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it does bring into question how much, into question for me, obviously not for you, you've read the book, but it does bring into question for me how much the survivors would want to correct his interpretation. I mean, honestly, he, in a way, knows more about the fall than a lot of the survivors would, because his family was so close to, Viovis,
Mm-hmm.
compared to everyone else. So, like, he did kind of have, he did have information from Anna, who knew more in a way than a lot of people would. How much of what she told him was accurate and how much he remembers accurately is a question.
Mm-hmm.
But how much, what would survivors tell him about it? What do they know? How much do they want to engage with that with him is a
Yeah.
question for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. I think what the yes, I think what's being set up here, we'll
Mm,
see how it plays out. But
yeah,
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 that on the one hand, Atris does have some unique information because Anna is the only person who knows what happened to Agaris.
yeah, yeah,
Right? She's the one witness to that.
right,
But on the other hand, the Dunny will be adult. Will have adult memories of the general
right,
experience of the fall. So
yeah,
they could potentially come together to piece of things together.
right, yeah. I would be interested personally in knowing what anyone who was an adult during the fall who's still alive, which
Mhm.
wouldn't be humans, obviously. Uh, I would be interested what their interpretation of it was with their smaller amount of information than Anna had. If you're just a member of the general public, there's a lot of that story that you don't know. Um,
Right.
sort of motivationally and personally. But so she would have known more, but uh, she also may not have told it accurately. So without seeing what she said, a little hard to say what we know about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think Atris knows. There's a lot of stuff he doesn't know, and a lot of stuff he's misinterpreted, I think.
Hmm.
And I mean, like I said, he is having to try to collate these two sources of information and decide who he believes. And we know that he doesn't trust Gen, but that doesn't mean that those weren't formative things that he learned about Denis when he learned them from Gen. Like, it's going to be hard to shake your first impression, right? And so if the first source of knowledge that he has, as inaccurate as it is Gen, it's going to be hard for him to completely shake everything out of his head about it. So, it would be difficult for him to determine what truth is, for sure. And I don't think he
Hmm.
has a full truth from anybody. Not even intentionally on Anna's part. But now he's now he's parading around like he is the god of knowledge in this book, and it's just getting on my nerves.
Hmm.
I really don't like him in this book. I really don't. I already didn't like Myst 3 Atris. Mr. I'm like my dad and also I write YouTuber apologies at the end. It's And this book definitely sets him up. It definitely sets up Myst 3Hers 100%. Like, he is well on his way to being the unlikable version of himself.
Yeah, yeah. I think I've commented on that previously.
And
We'll see where that goes in the rest of this book.
I would really hope that it doesn't, that something makes me at all root for him at any point in this book, because I know I'm not supposed to hate the man, but God, they're trying real hard. They're succeeding if they were trying to make him unlikable, but I don't think they're trying. I think that just I think it's just a thing that happens. I mean,
Well,
there's a
for
difference between. You think they might be trying to make him unlikable?
I was just gonna say, for now, his students are having fun on the field trip, so
Yeah, all
isn't
right,
that
yeah, fair
nice?
enough. I mean, they are insulated from some things, I think. They also don't have the vision of the future that I have, where it's
Mhm.
like, he stays like this. And they don't know him in the same way, I would say, as how I know him, which is to know his failures.
Mhm.
They know him as their all-knowing teacher. They don't know him as world's number one dad, Atris, failure of a father.
Mhm.
Which I feel like my feelings about that, about the fact that all of the stuff that the stranger ends up cleaning up for him constantly is stuff that's caused by him just like being a very disconnected person who doesn't really understand what his sons needed from him and never did. Um, my feelings about that and my critique of that is like separate from my feelings about like this Atris and Myst 3 Atris and that stuff. It's like all of that stuff about his kids still exists, but it's kind of immaterial to all this other sort of character stuff that he's doing in these entries that I find annoying. Or just like, wow, I really wouldn't want to know this guy. Uh, but you know,
Yeah. I'll
now
just
go ahead.
I was just gonna briefly say, and I'll say more about it. This is not the right day to focus on this, but I
Mhm,
will comment that in Ivy Alley's book about Mist,
mhm.
there's a really interesting discussion, which I'll want to go into more
Okay,
down the
all
road.
right. When it's
But just about
time.
that, yeah, but it's worth noting for now just that Atris interacts with technologically less developed populations.
Yes.
That's all of that's those are the only people he visits, and
Yeah,
there's
and we did have a
implication.
little discussion of that during Myst when I was
Yeah,
playing that.
yeah, and so there are implications to the way in which you're perceived by the people around you,
Mhm,
right? If
right,
you surround yourself with less knowledgeable people,
right. Yeah,
um,
seemingly by
and
preference to some
yeah,
degree at least. Yeah,
yeah,
it's not like he's writing. He's not seeking to go to ages where they've already discovered like space and time travel.
right,
Yeah, he's looking for like Channelwood.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And that does, I'm sure, have some, like I said, to his students, he is the all-knowing teacher, so they definitely see a different Atros than I do here.
yeah.
Um, the next passage that I have here is starting. It's almost immediately before sort of an interesting. No, I guess it's a little bit farther away, but there's some interesting interactions between him and Ketron in this section, where I'm not sure what's going on in her head, but we're not quite there yet. In this one, she's asking, "Are we going to visit this age?" Uh, which is Belarus. It's one that he's identified as. Oh, there's totally survivors here.
Hmm.
Um, So Atris smiled. Yes, but not yet. First, I need to study the book more carefully. But what about the signs? Catherine said. The cleanliness of the house, the book of commentaries we found. There are Denis in that age. That may be so, Atris conceded, but for the sake of 3 or 4 days, I'd rather be certain all is well. Remember, caution is everything. For the lack of caution, Denis fell. We must not make the same mistake. In all likelihood, the people on this age, on Bellaris, are survivors from the fall. And from the cleanliness of the house, it would seem that they share our aspirations. They, too, would like to see Denis rebuilt to its former glory. And my first sentence of my notes are, well, that's a pile of assumptions to make. Like, he's like, oh, yeah, no, it's cleaner here. So first of all, there are totally still survivors. This is totally the correct book. And they totally want the same thing that we want. That seems like a lot to go to conclude from this. It's also interesting for later in the section that she brings up, there are Denis in that age. I don't know if she's just sort of testing his resolve on this or what, but it sounds like a Sherlock deduction. It does, doesn't it? He went to his mind palace and came back with this. Like, it just seems like he's concluding things more on the basis of what he wants than what the evidence says, for sure. And then he's like, oh yeah, but I'm the cautious one here. I'm not sure what he would know about, like, can he tell if there are people there based on studying what's in the book?
No.
No, I didn't think so. Right? Like, what can he tell from that? What is he looking for? What does he think he's going to see by studying it? Is he just worried about going, do you think? And that's why, like, he's putting it off by, like, I'm going to spend 3 or 4 days looking at the book and staring at it and willing it to tell me that something is fine. Like, he can tell what the age might be like, but he can't tell whether there are people there.
So and we talked about this a little bit last time. I am not sure what the nature of his hesitancy is.
Yeah.
So there is a passage in here somewhere that makes it sound like he is worried that Vievis did micro art to the books.
Yeah, I think that was
And
actually maybe in the previous section that we did.
was it?
I think it's when he's talking to Marm about why they have to be cautious to make sure that nothing was altered or,
Yeah. So
I think we already passed that bit, but yeah.
So yeah, so if so that would be something, right? If
Yeah.
he could read the book and find out that actually the linking spot is now over a pit or a volcano,
Yeah.
or whatever.
To be fair,
that
he could tell that.
Yeah.
But that should be like a
and
single day review for him, surely.
well, we don't know. We don't
I
know
guess
how,
we don't know how adept he is at finding. Like, I feel like if you were actually a master at the art, you'd know where the passage about the linking area would be, and you'd just find it.
Well, but we also we don't know how many characters are in, how many words are in a descriptive book, right? We don't.
I mean, they
know
look
that.
big. Game-wise, I guess we show some big books and sitting around.
Some of them are quite.
Yeah.
The visual depictions of
we can't trust the visual depictions of it.
has not always been consistent, but
yeah, and I mean, what I'm thinking of is like the beginning of Riven, like he's writing, like he's trying to save Riven, so I assume he's writing in the descriptive book, and it is absolutely enormous.
Yes.
Yeah, so like that is our clearest perhaps example of like this should be a descriptive book of an age. On the other hand, it is also an age that Gen wrote, and so it's probably done incorrectly. So it's probably longer than it needs to be.
And yeah, so we don't. What was I going to say? That it's also possible that he is searching for environmental. He should, and this I'm not necessarily taking from the text. I'm taking it from logic. Is he's looking for the gear and the planning that team would have to have, right? Is this are we preparing for ice? Are we preparing for warm environment? Are we
Yeah,
preparing for an environment that would be prone to have a lot of
sure,
wildlife? So
sure.
he might be doing that.
Yeah, it's just when he talks about it and being wary about it, it doesn't sound like that's so much what he's worried about, especially if he
Hmm,
does actually believe that there are survivors there. He probably believes it's relatively habitable. But
that's true.
it's hard to say because like of everybody, he is the most certain when he makes these
Hmm.
conclusions, but also he's dragging his feet. And it's like, what is exactly the motivation here for that? I'm not 100% sure why he's hesitant.
Hmm.
I don't know how much of the conviction is bluster, but based on the end of this section, I'm gonna say it really mostly wasn't.
Hmm.
Um, so I don't like I really don't know. And he makes it sound like he'd be able to tell if there's survivors there by reading the book, and it's like you can't because it wasn't
Hmm.
written with the people in it. So like and we know that even if he had, even if he's looking at the linking book and not the descriptive book, like he needed to do special things to spy on people. Like he can sort of see what's going on a grand scale in Riven. Like you'd have to do something massive, like I don't know, open a fissure, um,
Hmm.
for him to tell. But like he can kind of tell, but like he has to be doing something to check on that. And then we have
And
him
at this
checking on the
right,
kids with the spy crystals and everything, and like, so what's he gonna know?
and yeah, and it's important to keep in mind that at this point in 1997, right,
Mhm.
we're not there yet. That reference he
Yeah,
makes
yeah, yeah, yeah.
to his equipment is
Oh, I know.
unexplained.
Right,
Oh,
but
just for the audience's benefit, I know there is one other thing he can be worried about, and it's going to come up later in the book, and it comes up in Ages Beyond Mist, and it has to do with a roundish metal object, and that part is great and fun, and we'll get to it, but I'm not bringing it up now just to not
all right,
spoil things for.
fair enough. I just like the number of assumptions he was making. I was like, are we really? And this is especially because this is like right after he almost goes straight to Koa without doing anything. Like he's like this close. Like Marm like stops him by being like,
Mhm.
Master Atris, like what are you doing? And his hand is like millimeters away from linking into Koa, and it's like, okay, so you were about to do that, and now you're like, yeah, but Bellaris, we're gonna have to like read and read and read for like 4 days before we go. I don't know. Have some
Yeah.
consistency, sir.
Well,
I can kind of
well,
understand that
that's
because that's like his family's age, but
it's certainly
still.
for whatever we think of his protocols, his own
Mm.
compliance with his protocols is pretty bad.
It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
This the next section I clipped out just because it's like, yeah, no, this is Atris. Um, what? Catherine asked, amused. She knew that look. In answer, he went across to the shelves beside the desk and took down his father's notebook, slipping it into his knapsack, which already held the Book of Bellaris, the Book of Commentary, 2 blank linking books, a pot of special Denis ink, and a pen. What are we like listing out the adventure game inventory? Like that it struck me
Mhm.
as funny just now. You need to rest, Catherine began. And I shall rest, he said, tightening the cord, then throwing the bag over his shoulder again. But I also have to work. We're close now, Catherine. And I'm like, yep, this is Atris. This is him. Like, he's not gonna. He's just gonna spend 23 hours of a 24-hour day, like, absorbed in what he's doing. He's gonna ignore her, ignore his students, ignore everything else. We know this man. Like, this is the most consistent portrayal we've had so far of him in this book. It's like, yep, nope, this is him. This is him. And I said, I'm honestly feeling a significant degree of doubt that it would still be amusing to her after all this time.
Mm.
This woman has the patience of a saint. Atris literally has no idea how lucky he is that after everything, she can still smile in amusement over him getting obsessively buried in his work to the exclusion of everything else, including his health and her and his kids. So, yeah, what a relationship these two have, but that's him. That's 100% him. Um,
I feel like the word amuse comes up a lot in their relationship. Like like that they amuse each other quite a bit.
which is an
I mean,
interesting dynamic because I'm not like if you take them independent of each other, I don't
Mhm.
really see why either would amuse the other one, unless she
Mhm.
is amused by him in that, like, I'm way smarter than you and you're just a funny little man. Like, that would be the only thing that I could think of. But like, I, because I think she is way smarter than he is, but except for the part where she doesn't leave the relationship, but that plenty of very smart people don't do that. I just like I'm just not seeing them amusing each other, just like in isolation of each other. I don't know. I don't feel like the amusement in the relationship has a whole lot of basis in evidence, but they
Mhm.
can try to portray that if they want. I guess them telling us instead of showing us is proof because that's how they go. I
Mhm.
I almost forgot. This part was a little bit of math confusion for me, which is not unusual. So I don't know if check me here. But long ago, that memory for Anna had been dead for nearly 30 years. So at this point in this book, she's been dead for, let's round it up to 30, because they said nearly. Let's say it was 28. Let's just round it up to 30. So the timeline is a little bit but not so much with the books. I guess it's more of worrying about consistency, like in the future from this, but um, because it does kind of make sense. It's been 70 years since Denis fell, 30 since she died. So we calculated like she'd be in her 40s during the fall. So if she made it to her 80s. That's pretty good. His journal described it as interpreting the noise patterns to know what was happening on Riven. That could mean the visual distortions in the gateway image or the literal noise that was coming from it. Yeah. So he's not like seeing it, he's just something. I hear something different or I see something like some fuzz happened on the gateway. Yeah, so
Mhm.
that only reinforces uh the idea that he's not learning anything from reading the Book of Polaris, but I don't know. Um
Yes, Spiker, you make a very good point
Hi Ezreal.
there,
Welcome.
and I'm so accustomed to the the expanded Mist One version of that
Mhm.
um, yeah,
Yeah,
that clogs my thinking. So yeah, Spiker,
right.
thank you for bringing up that quote.
Where I get confused is where the Mist timeline fits into this. When were Cirrus and Akadar born? Because they knew Anna, right? Like she did help raise them when they were small.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so they're by Mist 4, they would be significantly older than they look, right? Assuming that we go that in because this is before Mist 3.
Uh,
This book clearly takes place before that, and Anna's been dead for 30. And like they're older than they look, right?
in you're saying how old are they in Mist Four?
Yeah.
They're going to be between they're they're probably both between 45 and 50 years old.
They're older than they look, yeah. 100% because they look like they're I don't know, mid 30s or something.
Yeah.
You watching
Oh,
the
by the
movie
way,
Israel?
side note, I'm watching a film the other day,
Mhm.
and I read, oh, wait, is that Akinar? And yeah, it
Wait,
was
was he in it? Really?
yeah, it was the guy sprung or sprang. Um,
Amazing.
is yes, he was in that film. I had never thought I would
Never thought you'd
actually
just
see him in
run
a
into him
film,
in the
but
wild.
yeah, but he showed up there.
Hey, man got some work. Good job. I was like, wait, they have to be older than because like I'd say maybe they're like maybe early 40s in that one,
Mhm.
and like no. They gotta be like 50 or something, maybe if it's been 30 years. I was like, am I wrong? Were they wrong? I mean, we can't trust casting, obviously, just the way that we can't trust the visual depictions of the books, but like it gave me a brain twisty moment where I was like, am I bad at math? I mean, I am, but is this math bad or is the casting weird? The answer is the casting is weird, but my math was also inaccurate. Um, Oh, this bit. This is about their relationship again. Yes, and it was strange how he needed to go away before he realized that. It was like Catherine. All those months of separation had, he knew now, been necessary to teach him her worth. To which I was like, Lord, this man does not deserve this woman. Give me patience. He spent like his kids' entire childhoods separated from them and hers. So if he was being taught about their worth when he was separated from them, he should have appreciated his children and his wife already. Apparently, it's only when it's not him voluntarily separating from them that it teaches him about her worth. But sure, world's #1 dad and husband. And I said, I must try not to head desk too violently when they give me passages like this.
So I think there's that passage stood out to me for multiple reasons. So one is just the straightforward that we get, I think, the clearest, and I'd forgotten about this passage. We get the clearest sense of the amount of time between when the family all trapped each other and the end of Riven.
Right.
And it's months.
It's months, yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it does say all those months. So it could be almost a year, you know?
Yes.
We could be talking like...
So, and I know that there were some dates in Atris's journal, and we could try to reconstruct some stuff there, but I think that is important, just that is giving us months as the time frame there. So that was interesting. And also, yes, there is a weird that does. I agree with you. That does speak to some weirdness in the way in which Atris relates to other people. I'm reminded of I know someone who was fond of saying about other people whom he found annoying that he would love to write a song in their honor called "How Can I Miss You If You Won't Go Away." And that sort of
I really, I would love to hear that song. That would be an epic title, and I love it. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's that with him and her, but it's like really like months away from her when you didn't choose to. That suddenly teaches you that she's valuable. Which I can kind of understand on one level, because it's like when he's choosing to spend months in Channelwood or whatever away from his entire family, including Catherine, he has a level of trust that like he can just go back to her. She's there. And the I would say misapprehension that she's not going to have changed, you know, that she's going to be the same person when he goes back months later. Although, you know, I mean, we don't know how accurately he perceives any interpersonal things, since he's clearly not very good at it. But it just like that was an eye roller for me. And I did have to sort of check myself. I'm like, we are talking about Riven, right? We are talking about the time when she's away from him because of the whole like everybody tricked each other and now she's trapped there, right? Like, because I was like, that is I had to think, is that months?
Like I had to think through that. I had to think through that too, because he has voluntarily gone off on his own so many times.
So he could literally be talking about any time, but I think the only time that would be worth mentioning would be that, right?
Yes, because he's making it sound like it was against his will, and that's the one time that was against his will.
Exactly. So it has to be that, and it did seem a little bit short. But I mean, all those months, like maybe he's talking.
Chose to be away from her.
Yeah, like for wildly larger amounts of time overall, like he has spent literal years away from his wife, and like I don't know, up to 11 months. Let's assume they're on a 12-month year. I mean, that's a bad assumption, but let's, for the sake of argument, just say that. So let's say it's like 11 months so that he doesn't count it as a year, right? But it's like all those months, unless he's doing like parent months where it's like my child is like 96 months old. Like, unless he's doing toddler months, he's not talking a year, right?
Yeah,
so he has spent way more time away overall. But this was the only time that was worth mentioning. So it has to be that. It has to be that. Because it was the only one, like we said, that's involuntary. But it's like, I don't think you still appreciate her, but okay. Nice try, I guess.
Yeah.
The teardrops staining the journal in Riven 2024 were like the most emotion that I think they've ever expressed between the two of them in any media so far.
Mhm.
Like the idea that he would have been crying while writing about her being gone is like wild compared to how we see them interact or read about them any other
Yeah.
place so far. Perhaps
Yeah.
there's something later in this book, but like that change that they made to the graphics, like that did more to sell them having any kind of relationship than anything they've written otherwise or acted. So I don't know. How much weight do I put on that versus what I have here, which was before that? I don't know.
Well,
I
and
don't
to go
think
along with
he's. Go ahead.
that, there's the companion. To me, it was this is a thematically companion passage where Atris went to quote push the thought aside close quote
Mhm.
of Sears and Akar.
Right. Yeah. No, I did quote that out too because I was like, okay,
Yeah,
well, we're not
and
dealing with our.
yes, we are not um, we're burying our feelings clearly
Yeah. Oh,
because
yeah. Yeah. He doesn't deal
um,
well with it, which
because
you can
this
kind
is
of
where
understand from childhood trauma to some degree, but
yeah, but this is where we're gonna we're gonna have issues in the future. I know
Mhm.
that Narayan doesn't exist in
Yeah.
this book,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it certainly explains some things there. But also it's just it's worth noting that we have never we never see Atris and Catherine's reaction to their son's betrayal. Right?
Yeah. We
Because if we
don't.
did, we'd be seeing it here. That this is
Mhm.
the place
Yeah.
to and I'm not saying it's not going to happen later, but like he hasn't he's just saying he's pushing the thought aside, he's burying it.
Right.
Catherine apparently is too. They're
Well,
not
yeah, because
like
she's cheerfully moving along, or at least she's masking very, very well.
yeah,
Spiper has an interesting question. Would it have taken anything away from the game's stories if they'd said Atris was returning to Myst most days to eat, sleep, spend time with his wife, and such? Yes, because it would have taken away from his characterization, I think. That's my answer, because, like, it, it is it to me it speaks so much to who he is and how he thinks that he didn't do that, and I feel like it's fairly heavily implied that he doesn't do that. um
yeah, it straight up says so in places, and it's Spider.
yeah,
I think
yeah, it doesn't say it for everything, so certainly there
mhm,
could have been periods of time where he was going home and we just don't hear about it. But there are periods of time where we know he wasn't going home, and like I think if at any point his little sojourns were interrupted by days of going home to spend time with his wife and children, it would fundamentally alter who Atris is to me.
yes,
So
because
yeah,
and this is something we have talked about before. Is this is Spider? You're right that it's Atris has this weird inability to comprehend the idea of commuting to work. Um,
he
where
does. He does.
he when he goes to for an
He
age,
could
he
just
goes for
link
these
back.
chunks
It's
of
instant.
time. And most of the time, not always, but most of the time, he's still near his linking spot.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's not like, and even, and I mean, theoretically he could just make more linking spots, but even if that was
yeah.
like some burden, but most of the time he's depicted as being right next to his linking spot and being gone for extended periods of
Yep,
time.
yep.
And so yes, so yeah, he would be a different
He'd be a different
character
person. Yeah,
because he would have this much more conventional by our
right.
society standards home life, which he
Yeah,
just artificially deprives himself of for no good reason.
yeah. Because
There's
it's
a
not even
part
like he has like a 5 hour commute to work. Like it's literally instantaneous.
yeah, I
Like
mean,
he could just go back.
there's a part in Myst 4 where uh, Catherine and Yeesh are talking about how they're getting a special dinner ready for Atris
Mhm.
because he's been gone for weeks, and they know he's coming back on the next day or whatever
I
because
know he's
apparently he's
supposed to.
scheduled. Right? He's scheduled
Right.
precisely how long he was going to be gone, and so they're at home getting this special return happy dinner for him, and it's bizarre.
Yeah. Because
So
he shouldn't
yes,
have to be gone. Yeah, it's like locking himself in a room in his own house and refusing to come out for months. It is a bit like that, Spiper, yeah. I mean, I think
yeah,
one of the reasons to me why he would be a very fundamentally different character if he did go home is because I think it would really change how much I read him as very neurodivergent coded. Because I can see the hyper focus being a thing, and I can kind of understand how it would happen. The way that he would just kind of like forget that he could just instantaneously go home and see his family if he wanted to, because he's just like so involved in what he's focused on right now. Like, I
yeah,
think if he couldn't travel, he would spend periods of time like locking himself in his room and just basically coming out only if he had to. If he was working on something, I think he probably would, the character that we know. But if he was going home all the time, it's like, well, that would change my opinion of like how much I could put down to he's just wired differently versus he's an ass.
well, and also it's important to keep in mind that it's that it's that behavior plus that he was apparently very okay with Sears and Akinar going off for extended periods of time
Yeah.
that
Well, because he
allowed
sees it as normal.
for, yeah, yeah, that I mean it's they would have had to have reached a point in the run up to the blow up in their family where they're all coming back to Myst like maybe once a year for a holiday together,
Right.
and
They see each other at
otherwise,
Christmas, Thanksgiving, and that's it.
yeah, um,
Yeah, yeah, pretty
uh,
much.
it would have to it has to for to be able to explain the extent to which Sears and Ackner did what they did.
Yeah, yeah. Well, because there's just a basically a massive emotional disconnect between everyone in the family at that point, because like they're not. I don't think they're even seeing them as their parents anymore at that point. They're just obstacles, people that they
Oh
hate.
yeah,
Well, that Cirrus. I'm gonna say that Cirrus hates because Akinar just kind of, I think, gets brainwashed into it by his brother.
yeah, and we
Um,
will.
but
Yes,
we'll, yeah.
there's more actually specific on that point to come later.
Oh, okay, interesting.
But I have pulled up one of the one of the quotes that I think is
Okay.
the one, this is from Miss One. This is the Mechanical Edge journal, and this captures
Hmm.
what Spiker's talking about very well. He's so in the Mechanical Edge toward the end of it, he says, "quote But first, I will have an extended time with Catherine, whom I miss very much." Close quote. What do you mean he misses her? He's sitting on a little rock. Like, and I get
Right.
that the Mechanical Age Journal does portray the land mass of the area larger than the game was actually able to do. I get that,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
still, it's four hills connected to each other.
Yeah.
So he's stuck. We know he's stuck adjacent to his own linking spot. He could
Yeah.
have gone home for dinner every day, and he
Like in
just
any
doesn't.
age, he could have, and he just
Yeah,
didn't.
and so
It's like
that
he
is
can't
a
even conceive of the idea.
and so that is something that stands out all the way back to Miss One. That is a behavior
Yeah.
pattern that stands out and is
Yeah. I
consistent
mean, I
with him
think
throughout the whole series.
yeah, it pretty much Mist One sets the character as that kind of person, and that aspect of him really doesn't change.
Mhm.
And I mean, we're even seeing it in this book where it's like eat, sleep, rest. What? I don't understand. And like the only reason he's with her is because she just doesn't leave his side.
Mhm.
Like it's her taking the initiative to make sure that she doesn't let him out of her sight, basically, rather than him caring whether he's in the same age as his wife. But I don't know. Anyway, I mean, he's maybe making a little bit more effort at this point because it's like fresh off of temporarily losing her involuntarily, but like we know that's going to wear off. The next passage that I have pulled out is talking again about how little time and space matter when you have the art.
Mhm.
I don't know if time-wise it's worth specifically quoting it, but like it's basically he's remixing, and then in fact he does quote the previous book where his grandfather is telling Anna the same kind of idea where it's like it doesn't matter, like time doesn't matter, like time will be different on the other age that you get to, and space doesn't matter, you're just connecting stuff. So it's just kind of an echo of that, but I feel like they really don't tangle with time very much in the books or games. It's just kind of like it is whatever time it is on whatever age you end up on, and like it's not a thing that we really wrestle with ever. um
It's yeah. So well, let me preface, because that is an important passage, and
okay.
I'm confused by the statement. So he says he's in a very different part of the galaxy
Mhm.
from Earth,
Well,
and
from the
then
planet he
it says,
knew as Earth.
yeah, or its equivalent,
Yeah,
if
that
one
gave
even
me a
existed in this age. I
that
don't
gave
know
me a
what that
moment
means.
too. I don't really know either. I think this is the conclusion that I came to,
Mhm.
which is not a great one, by the way, but I don't know what they were going for. My conclusion was, let's say that you're on Earth and you link to like, I don't know, Koa, right? Like the idea I think here is that you're in a different dimension in Koa. So like you're not you're at a different part of the multiverse. So if you were looking, let's say you could see the star that is like the star system for Koa from Earth,
Mhm.
right? Let's say that it orbits Alpha Centauri. I mean, it does. We'll just make up that's a star I can think of. So let's say you can see that when you're on Koa and you're looking back at the sun, you're not looking at like the same Earth you left.
Mhm.
It's an alternate version of it. Like if you could travel from Koa, like on a spaceship, from there to what you were looking at, what is in the same like celestial place as Earth should be, and it looks
Ah,
like Earth, it acts like Earth, like you would get there and it wouldn't be the same Earth that you linked off of. I think that's what we're going for, but I'm not 100% on that, and I'm not sure I conveyed it correctly either.
yeah, and I think my understanding of what you said is, it, I think what you said would be consistent with this passage,
Yeah, that's what I think
but
they're going for. Like it might even be a different time. Like you might get to that Earth and it would be caveman times. Like you don't know.
mm,
Um,
to me, but my my understanding of the art is that it is not multiverse based. It is it is based on there being infinite space with infinite options for planets,
See, to
and
me,
that
I feel like the way that they describe the infinite options to me sounds like the equivalent of saying that it's multiverse based, especially when you're bringing time into the equation. I feel like it's the same idea to me. Um,
Mhm.
what they try to express when they're telling us rather than showing us what they think the art is. I feel like what they're trying to express is that, but in passages like this, it is hard to tell what they're trying to express. Spiper has a comment in the four ages in Myst, mechanical might be the only one where him spending more time away could have made sense since he was working on more of a deadline, the black ships returning. Of course, he also could have just evacuated everyone to a different age. He could have, and he still could have gone home for dinner because it's instant travel.
Yeah.
But
Yes. So yes, Piper. I think your the first part of your point there is. I mean, I just yeah. He can still go home for dinner, and he was also going to some other age because I
yeah,
believe he was importing a lot of that metal. So or he and
that
the boys were
feels right, but I
importing a
don't.
lot of that
Yeah,
metal, onto that one base camp island.
right.
Um, and so he's spending he's bouncing back and forth between mechanical age to some other age, um, where he presumably has another army of uneducated people doing
Right.
smelting work for
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
But yeah, he could go home for dinner. I mean, at the very least,
Yeah.
I would
And he
save
absolutely could
them
have
on their
evacuated
food.
them all.
Yeah. And then on the evacuation, I think, yes, I mean, obviously he could have done that.
Yeah,
And it's not clear why he didn't.
right.
Maybe they didn't want to, but it doesn't say
I,
that.
I think I
Um,
think at that point in the writing, they might have been working on the idea that there's sort of a prime directive that he's operating on, where it would somehow be altering things too much to bring people to a different age. Obviously, that's not something they stuck with.
yeah, that
Um,
is,
but I feel like at
and
that time that might have been.
it that definitely could be. It's but number one, that's part of why Avron is significant because that is the big change in his behavior, where he's actually bringing locals with him
Right.
and actually like educating them and
Yeah.
making them partners in the project. Um,
Not so much because I feel like he got dragged along into that by circumstance more than anything. I
well,
think he was completely comfortable actually with the idea of just abandoning them,
well,
but he
I
had
mean,
very few misgivings, I feel.
he was certainly prepared to, but he also, I mean, he's certainly benefiting from his 30
Yeah.
teenagers who are running
No,
all around
100%.
Agara
Yeah.
doing all this work for him.
Which
But
might have been the reservations that he had, which was like, I'm losing my
mm,
workforce. I'll have to train up another group of people.
yeah, but yeah, it's certainly true. He there is something that is holding him back pre-Averone.
Yeah.
There is something that's holding him back from bouncing people around across ages, and
I would wonder actually now
why
that
that
I'm thinking
is.
about it. Yeah, I mean, they're not gonna. I don't think they're gonna give us a reason why, but like, eh,
No, they don't.
how
I mean,
much? Yeah, how much
that is
would
never explained
be
in Myst One or elsewhere.
like? Was he at any point taught, or did he read like some sort of, like I said, some sort of prime directive kind of thing, like don't interfere? And how much is like a certain inherent racism that he learned from his dad? You know, I like I feel like there could be some blend of things as to why he doesn't like, some level of, well, they're not the same as we are, some othering of them, and some
Mhm.
degree of don't mess with the ecology of like, if the age is collapsing, it was supposed to collapse. Like,
Yeah.
I don't
Oh
know.
yeah.
I'm sure there's some
There's
mix of things.
there's definitely some. There's definitely some of Atris taking Gen's attitude toward the local populations and sort of benignly adapting it, right? Where
Yeah,
he'll hang out with. I mean, I think particularly we see this with Will and Emmett and Branch,
yeah,
where it's just for he's traveling the universe and doing all this incredible stuff, but
right.
they get a lighthouse and
Yeah,
he's
they
going
get
to
a
help them
light.
build their lighthouse, and that's great for them, and from
Yeah,
their perspective they're happy, and for
yeah.
and
Well,
from
because they
his
don't
perspective,
know what the
yeah,
other options are. Yeah,
but in
it's
his
not
mind,
like Averone.
yeah, yes, it's very different from Aberon. They're
Yeah,
just it's just for him, he's fine with them being fine.
right. I mean, I did pull a quote later about, Marm is talking about like, how mind bending it was to learn that there was more than Averone, right?
Yeah.
And like, how wild would that be? Because it's not even like, let's say, like what I likened it to in my notes was, like Doctor Who being a companion and being invited into the TARDIS, and like you've suddenly learned I can travel like to any space and time. Well, mostly it's going to be Earth, but like it's not just that; it's that you could travel to any space time, but also you're in charge of that. Like you can write that, and
Mhm.
and so like learning that that's a thing, that anybody comes out of that sane is probably less likely. than somebody's mind just breaking for a while, being like, wait, what? Where are you from? When are you from? Like, how is this? What is going on? Like, the fact that they take to it so well is surprising, honestly, because that would be really crazy to find out that, like, because your entire reality is questioned now, you know?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we should never underestimate the impact of when Gen shows up, or when Atris shows up, or when
Yeah.
any of the
I mean,
other
that's
Dunnies show
Alien
up
First
and just
Contact, right?
appear. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
But with a nice little dose of magic, because they just kind of like poof into existence in your world. Like, you don't watch a ship approaching your planet, like, just poof, the guy is there. Like
Yeah,
that, I would, that it would be pretty crazy. And then the fact that they don't just get killed by the natives constantly. Like, is this a thing that Denis worry about? They go somewhere and then well, I guess they try not to have populated worlds. I mean, we kind of know that, but to some degree, they want some populated worlds, but they also like unpopulated worlds, because it kind of sounds like most like family ages and stuff don't have native populations. That was my impression anyway.
yeah, I
Um,
don't. Yeah, that's
yeah,
yeah, that's they
hard
just
hard to tell
want
for sure. Yeah,
they just want a park for their kids to go
right.
play in.
Yeah,
They're
basically,
not.
yeah,
They
yeah,
do not
yeah.
want to deal with any of those other issues.
Right, they don't want to deal with that. Like, they should be way more scared linking into New Ages, it feels like. But, I mean, maybe not when Denis was a society, though, because the maintainers would check that stuff out. They'd be like, this looks like you probably have a native population on your age. You sure about
Yeah,
that? I mean,
yes, and that's
yeah,
exactly, I think, what part of
yeah,
their job was. Yeah.
right. And they'd go in and they'd probably be, like, I would imagine that if they weren't sure, that they would be the ones to go in first and be like, all right, let's just go investigate this real quick and just see, and that they would be prepared for that kind of thing. That's their job. But um, we still know from the fact that two of them going missing being shocking, even before they found out that they'd been killed, that they don't have that outcome often, that they run into mortal
Mhm.
danger. Because I
Yeah.
would imagine that anything that looked dangerous, they wouldn't even try to peek into. But yeah, without Maintainers Guild around, it is a bit Wild West, of course. In fact, my next quote is kind of about that. Little wonder that his father, freed from the restraints of Denis society and lacking the true humility of his Denis peers, had thought himself some kind of god. I feel like Atris is a little, again, sympathetic in this book, but yeah, also at the same time, like, from an outside perspective, it's like, yes, these are thoughts that I have had, but I'm also not in his world being his son. So, like, having Atris be sympathetic is like, you're on a slippery slope because you are also freed from the restraints of society. And who taught you humility?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. There is some, pot calling the kettle black there. And
mhm,
even if the text does say he's, he the moral of the story is he sits down with Avron children
yeah.
and teaches them to avoid
That
this, which
is
is
my
good.
next passage, which is careful not to make the same mistake. His first lesson to his own students, to Marm and Iris and Karad and all their fellows, was this: one did not make the ages to which the words linked. A far greater force than the Denis had made those, yet it was easy to be deluded into thinking so, for the universe was so vast, so all-encompassing, so infinite in its variety of worlds, that almost anything one wrote had its counterpart in reality. Which to me is, once again, they're telling us one thing and their language often shows us the other. But it also, I feel like this just like literally illustrates my theory that at one point in Denis history they were creationist, and then something bad happened, and as a reaction they teach the linking uh, philosophy instead, because I feel like that's like, this is a microcosm of literally how that would happen, because his, like, this is his reaction to Gen,
Mhm.
right? So I think it shows a logical follow through there, but we don't need to dwell on that because we know where we stand. But
Yeah, this is yeah. For those in the audience who don't know, this is the part where Rodri like goes off and is basically like, "Hey, what if we made the story of Peter Pan, except he can't fly and is using a jetpack?" And then I sit
except
here and go,
everything looks the same
"Okay,
because you don't even see the jetpack, and everything works the same. It's just the reasons are different. Um,
yeah,
The next bit that I had is about is him also just having a moment of reflecting on Gen, and it's like, wow, you're finally asking the questions. Standing there, he thought of his father and of the notebook they had found in the study on Kavir, which just interject for a moment where I'm like, just the sheer like it's sort of irony, but also it's sort of perfect that like Gen made his base on Kavir. Knowing who also came from Kavir.
Mhm.
It had told him little that he did not already know or suspect, yet reading Gen's words at this distance from events, he had, against all expectation, been impressed by his father's intellect. Don't be impressed by his intellect. And had found himself wondering what Gen might have become had Denis not fallen. And that thought had spawned others. Was it really Gen's fault that he had become what he'd become? The destruction of his hopes at such an impressionable age had clearly traumatized the boy, yet could everything be accounted for by that? What of the cruelty in his father, that twisted aspect of Gen? Was that a product of events, or was it something natural in the child that, through circumstance, had been encouraged rather than controlled? And it's like, yeah, those are the questions that society has been asking about, like, anybody who does horrible crimes since the dawn of civilization. We don't have an answer. Um, so he's not going to find an answer, but like at least he's finally asking the questions, except he's asking them a little bit sympathetically, if you ask me, for again, somebody in his position. There are questions again that like it's safer for someone outside of it, like, you or me to ask. Whereas Atris getting all sympathetic about somebody like his father is like, who's watching you, sir? I'm a little concerned about you. Um,
Yeah.
but I mean, we don't have answers in a general way. Like sometimes with certain people, we can make better educated guesses of what might have caused them to be the way that they are. But we don't really have answers for that. But we will never know how much was nurture because they kind of skipped over, like 11 formative years of his life that would have been really interesting to find out about that might have helped to push us in a direction with these questions. Frustration that they decided not to do that, but oh well. But we also don't know is how Anna dealt with it. Like she would have been the one who would have been seeing him developing, and if he was developing these, as they said, twisted things as he was growing, and it was obvious. Like, what did she do? What was her reaction? What was Gen's reaction to her? Because we know that he, absolutely came to hate his mother. Like, was he displaying antisocial behavior already, like as a 9-year-old, as a trauma response of some kind? Like,
Mhm.
we'll never know. We'll never know for sure. And so we can't answer Atris's questions, but it is interesting that he's finally asking them because it seems like questions that one might have asked earlier.
Mhm.
Yeah, I also said, also, can I just note that there were more commas in this section than I think there were in the entire book of Atris? Thank you. Then this one, yeah, this is the then there were his own sons, he pushed the thought aside passage. So it was impossible to say. All he knew was that he himself had been lucky. Lucky to have had Anna during those formative years of his upbringing, to have been taught by so good and wise a teacher. And then there were his own sons. He pushed the thought aside, then turned, hearing soft footsteps just behind him. Catherine? Let's go, she said. Tonight. Tonight? He laughed, then turned slightly, looking at her. But I haven't written the linking book yet. Her face, silvered in the moonlight, was smiling strangely. No, but I have. And she handed him the slender book, enjoying his surprise. Like, many things in that passage. Many things. First of all, Anna also raised his father.
Yeah.
So there's a problem. Second of all, we're pushing aside dealing with our feelings about our sons, apparently. Um, and then also, what is her motivation here to push him into going? Because based on what follows, I have a theory, but I don't know that it makes a whole lot of sense. Like, but the whole thing where it's like he's like glorifying his grandmother, and it's like completely forgetting that she also raised his father. Like there's a common denominator in their upbringings to some degree, but Gen did spend 4 years away in the guild, so I mean, it definitely was different. And also, he was mad at her and resentful and traumatized by things, and they didn't have a good relationship. But like, I don't know. It's just like I feel like even the authors forgot that she also raised Gen. But yeah, he's definitely not dealing with his feelings about his kids at all. Which is interesting that he's willing to stand here and reflect on his father and grandmother, but he's not ready yet to deal with feelings about his kids. I mean, it is more immediate. Clearly it's taking him time to process things. Like, if it took this long between his knowledge of what his father was capable of and, hearing things from his grandmother before he can reflect on them, it's going to be another 40 years before he can reflect on his kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing that we know does not exist anywhere in the Myst universe is therapists. Because they certainly don't show up.
Yeah, this is probably the closest to sort of a psychological interest that we see Atris have.
Yeah,
In
he's not a
in this passage
self-reflective.
here.
Yeah, he's not a self or other person reflective person in general.
Mm-hmm.
He's finally thinking about it, which is like, is this character growth? Maybe, but we also then know he doesn't really grow. Which is a shame, like, because he's definitely not more emotionally in touch with things later, so, like, it didn't help, but at least he's reflecting. We should just be grateful for that, I suppose. The next quote that I pulled is literally just about his lenses, and he looks up and he shields his lenses from the sunlight, and I'm like, is not the point of the lenses that one does not have to shield one's eyes? Are they not to protect his eyes? Confused. But moving on. I just had a moment where I was like, what? Doesn't he wear them as essentially sunglasses? Why are we... Okay. And then the next one is him is they actually link through to Bellars and don't find anybody. And he's like, I mean, where are they? They have to be here somewhere. It makes no sense unless they are. And he's just sounding so desperate at that point that it's just like, the alternative, Atris, is that you could be wrong. That is a possibility, sir.
So, can I point out here, and to me, this is when we talk about problems with the writing style of this trilogy, and obviously, Roger, this bothers you from multiple fold more than me, but
Yeah.
but this was a passage that really it bugged me because and I feel like this is an example of broader problems is where are they going? Because Catherine shows up and she says, let's go tonight.
Yeah.
Tonight? And but where are they going? And it took me, it then takes a while. Right, then the next section starts and they link to an island.
Yep.
And I thought for a few paragraphs, I thought that they had gone to Roa because he had talked about being
Right, he had
interested
wanted
in
to
going
go
there earlier.
Yeah.
And I think it took me until let's see, there were no buildings. I think there would have been some buildings on Roa, I would think. Bird, the passage about the lenses, and
I don't know
I
where
think
they
it was when they
mention it.
started. Yeah, I think it's when they start talking about the island being uninhabited.
Yeah.
Because I thought, oh, okay, well, there's no one there because we know that the staff,
Right.
we know that Collis' staff fled on to Ganadet, and we never find out what happens to them. But
We know
so
what
that was the point.
happens
I was
to
like, oh, I guess
we know what happens to some of the staff because we find out that they die. Some of the first people that Anna sees die, after they flee Denis,
yes,
are
some
staff
of
members.
them die.
Yeah.
Yes, some of them die. The rest just says flee.
Yeah.
But so it took me like, and this is where I feel like this is sort of a recurring thing. It doesn't happen that often, like all the time, but where that the text thinks it told me something, and then I
Yeah, they do
realize
that.
several paragraphs later
Yeah.
that I don't know the information that they think they gave me, and so that's an example of it.
Yeah. I think for some reason this one I just intuited where they had gone because his response of like, I haven't even written the linking book yet. What he means is the one linking book back.
Right.
But then also like his sort of hesitancy where that's almost an excuse. I mean, it's a valid excuse, but it still feels excuse like sort of echoes his thing where he's like, well, we're gonna take days to research it. So I kind of intuited where they had gone, but you're right. They don't tell you. I don't think you find out where they went until they come back. I think they just
It's
describe the place. I think that's it.
Yeah, it takes several hundred words before I
Yeah.
realized
Yeah.
that my
Yeah.
assumption
Now
was
that you
wrong.
mention it, I can completely understand why that would have happened. I just got lucky on this one, but that is something that they like to do. They'll either over explain or under explain. There's like nothing in between.
Mhm.
They're not great at hitting it right on the mark. When they do, I get very excited. Because it's like, wow, you actually did it. You succeeded at writing. To
Mhm.
some degree, the writing problems at this point I'm glossing over a little bit because it's like they've worn me down. I accept that this is simply how it is. Others of them are so glaring that I just have to talk about them. But like to a certain
Mhm.
degree at this point, it's just like, yeah, that's just how they do. I don't know. It's they're doing it again.
Mhm.
And then with this one, like I said, I just lucked out that I just happened to intuit correctly, but I
Yeah.
would say that I intuit incorrectly far more often than I intuit correctly. This one just happened to work out for me. I mean, they talk about like here's where I start to wonder about her motivations, by the way, is in the next passage. Because I'm like, what were you doing in kind of pushing him to go there early, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's the wrong
This
go ahead.
feels out of character for her. It actually feels
It
much
does.
more Anna like.
It
Hey,
does, doesn't it?
here's a cave.
Yeah.
Let me just go in there by myself. Right?
Yeah.
There's that
It doesn't
spontaneity there that is
right.
not characteristic of Catherine. I don't
It's not. It really doesn't feel that way to me, and especially at this point in her life. I mean, like, maybe when she was younger, but not because she does kind of, like, literally shove him into an age at one point in Book of Atris, I think, like, into her age, but, I don't
think. Yeah.
she hasn't
But
displayed this
for
behavior in a very, very long time.
but it's her age.
Um, yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, she knows it, so she knows
Yeah.
he's not gonna die by going in, but, like, the fact that she
Right.
would, like, force him to is the closest behavior that we have, I think, to this.
Mhm.
But this is a little bit more, I don't know, manipulative somehow. Um, Maybe it's the
And
wrong book.
and
She's
we should revisit this passage in the future. We should
uh
revisit this passage because there's going to be more
oh,
to
is there
come
going to be
about.
clarity as to what her thought process was here at some point?
Well, there's just we're going to explore more just what it means to just open up a book and link into it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at least she prepared a link back that was
Mhm.
responsible of her. But the rest of it is a little bit reckless. But here's where I started to feel like, are you trying to teach him a lesson here? Maybe it's the wrong book, Catherine suggested, sitting down wearily on a rock overlooking the island's scattered bay. It was hot now, and she fanned herself slowly as she looked up at Atris. It's possible, he answered, stepping up onto the ledge above her. But then, what about the Book of Commentary? A false trail to make us think they were here? But why? Because they were afraid, and because they wanted to safeguard where they really are? And I was like, so you've already thought
And
about this, haven't you? So why are we here? Is it to teach him that he's making a lot of assumptions and being dumb? Like, is this like a sneaky, like teaching him a lesson? Is that what we're doing? Because he did make a lot of assumptions and he was wrong. And her logic about like, if they came back and they were like, oh, uh-oh, wouldn't they want to hide even better than they had hidden the first time? Like, let's say they ran to Belarus first and they lucked out. They didn't get, an infected body sent to
Mhm.
them, right? Like, if they came back and they saw the sheer devastation that was in the city, wouldn't they want to be more careful? Like, her
Yeah.
logic makes sense.
Mhm.
And the fact that this doesn't occur to him at all. Like, Atris weirdly is like and I mean weirdly even for him is seeing absolutely no possibility of danger in any of this. Like, he has spent
Mhm.
this entire time just being like, it'll be fine, Denis are fine. Like, it's going to be some friendly meetup, right? Like, he's seen no possibility of danger, which does really call into question what he knows about the fall. We don't know if he could be infected. We don't know how long this disease would last. Like, we don't know if 30 years later it's safe. Like, we don't know, or 60 years, however long it's been. We don't know if it's safe. Like, we don't know, so he definitely doesn't.
Yeah.
Um, but like, Catherine has clearly thought about this more than he's thought about it, which makes it feel weird that she would be like, I've already prepared a linking book, let's go. Because it's almost like she already knew that there wasn't anybody there, or that there wouldn't be. But she had said earlier, surely there are people there, which makes it all very strange. And it's like, okay, not clear what is happening there.
Mm-hmm.
I had another section that was not related where we might have a brief moment of guest cameo by Semicolon Guy. There's a semicolon in it. But to be fair, I was going to pull out this passage because it actually isn't bad. Even if it wasn't true, even if, like much that was in Gen's notebooks, it had been exaggerated down the years, there must have still been a core of truth, some story, some actual event that had spawned all of the subsequent tales about the Great King, like a speck of grit in an oyster shell about which the pearl subsequently grows. Other than the multiple use of subsequent, it felt like both a decent capturing of an idea here, where it's like, sure, yeah, even when, say, Atris doesn't have or doesn't interpret the truth correctly, there is some kernel of it in there somewhere, you know? So I think it's both a good idea and reasonably expressed. So, when I find them, I will pull them out. Passages that don't seem like terrible writing. Is it the best writing in the world? No, but it's actually a step up from everything else. So there you go. But it comments right there, like the text itself is now commenting on the sort of idea of the unreliable narrator in a way, like in an indirect way, where it's like there is a kernel of truth to things, but the details might be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Let's excuse our retcons. The next thing was the quote about her mind exploding because she knew that things existed. We already talked about that. Here is where I got to be where I was like, what are you doing, Kitron? And this is when they come back. And this is Marm's perspective. She's seen them return. She doesn't know that they've gone to the age that she expected to go to soon, because they were basically planning a field trip to Belars. And she and the others were excited. She doesn't know that the two of them have gone prematurely, but she's seen them come back on the boat. She knew at once that something was wrong. She could see it in Atris's face. Catherine was as cheerful as ever, but Atris was withdrawn. Why so cheerful? Did we just teach our husband a lesson? Like, what is this? Like, or is she just really better at hiding her feelings? I feel like one way or another it says something significant about her, but I'm not sure what it is yet. It's like,
Uh,
mm,
yeah, I don't know either, other than to guess that this is she's more just sort of go with the flow type
yeah.
of
Well, and she's less invested, I think,
attitude.
in his quest
Well,
to find
yeah,
people. But
but
it did kind of feel like she was like, all right, look, you're making a heck of a lot of assumptions here. I don't think you're right. Let's just see who wins. And she won.
mhm,
Like, to a certain extent, I feel like that is a reasonable motivation to read out of the text, but I don't think that that's necessarily what they mean to have happen here. So I'm just a little confused at this point, but that is me in this book in general. And
yeah,
then
I think I'll say I think you're
putting too much weight on it,
I
that's likely.
well, it's probably, but I think that you're I mean you're taking some dots and drawing lines between them that
They don't
sort
give
of
me a
makes
lot of
sense.
lines.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think
I gotta do something.
you're drawing some lines that make sense, but I don't think that I think that's more headcanon. It's not
Hmm.
bad headcanon on your part, but I think it's I
I
don't
imagine
think
it
that that's
doesn't.
where the authors
Yeah.
were going here. And
That's quite
but it's
likely
fine.
because
It's
anytime I connect things and make a line that I find interesting to me, I assume it's not what they meant.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And with that attitude, I think that's fine. Yeah.
So understand that when I am connecting dots and making lines that I find interesting to me, I know that either they didn't intend it will be contradicted later by something else that makes a lot less sense and connects dots from way farther out of the collection of dots, because
Mhm.
that's how they do, or it's just simply not important and it will just never come up again. Whether they intended it or not, it just doesn't even matter. Like, it's just not a thing. And so it's like headcanon that can enrich it for me. I got to do something to make this more interesting. Like,
Yeah.
the fact that they don't delve into the psychology of
Totally.
these people very often is a thing that makes it less interesting to me, just in general, the text.
Sure.
So
Yeah. No,
I
there's
do add the lines sometimes because it's missing to me. To me, it's
yeah,
something fundamental that's not there.
yes, it's fine. It's fine headcanon, and you're right. I think Catherine is just kind of to me through part one. She's just kind of been there.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot that she's doing. Um,
Which felt weird during the beginning bit in Averon, where they were going to do to Marm what would have been done to her had she not escaped, where it's just like,
hmm,
or what she worried about being done to her, where it's like, here, look at all the possibilities. Bye. You can't have
yeah,
them. And
yeah.
the fact that she didn't have more to say about that, where she just made some weak little comments that didn't even really push the issue at all, was like wrong.
Mhm.
So yeah, no, she has just kind of she's been more of a prop than anything. But I also kind of expect that from these guys because I feel like they want to have created important female characters, but they really don't know how to write them. She's
Mhm.
underutilized, says Spiper. That's a very kind way to put it. Yes, she's underutilized. I would go farther, but yeah. She is definitely. I mean, the last quote that I even had pulled for this was, but first it was up to her, meaning Marm, to find the books. And I was like, and why? Can they pick a main character? Because, like, the back of the book blurb is about Idra, who we've not even met yet.
Yeah, yeah, yes.
Like, can we pick a main character? We did. Is this time the book not named after the woman, but it's about the like, like what are we talking here? I just like
Mm.
you guys are confusing me, and probably yourselves when you were writing this. Like, but I do already agree that the Book of Marm would be very interesting, which is why we don't have it. So I think the Book of Gen would be very interesting. Can we learn about how he became what he was? No, we can't. Not officially, at any rate. But honestly, I kind of trust the fanfic authors more than I trust these two, so I'm sure somebody has done it justice somewhere. Book of Marm comes out, it's all from Yisha's perspective. No, you need to find a male character for it to be from their perspective, because it's not going to be from Yisha's perspective either.
and,
Um, but yeah,
and
I
yeah, and that is probably what would happen.
yeah, it's I don't know. She's a very interesting character though, I have to say. I also think like they were being mean again when they were like field trip canceled because there's nobody there. They could still show them the age. Let the
Hmm.
children go to the age. You've already proven it's safe to go there. Like, just go. Just let them go. Just let them spend an afternoon there, okay? Like, why ruin these children's dreams? Come on.
No,
I mean,
yeah, that's
they're
true.
not
I mean,
children, but basically.
that's true. I mean, now that they've done all of the EPA style testing
Yeah.
on themselves, then
Which was
yes,
super
they
smart,
could
guys,
get
but
there.
yeah.
They could,
They
yes, they
yeah,
could do that.
just let them go. What why upset them for no good reason? Like, I get that you're mad that you were wrong, Atris, but like you could sit there and lick your wounds in Denis and let the kids spend a day in Belarus. Like, it's not gonna hurt anything. Like, that was such a useless thing to deny them because it's safe, it's fine. Like, they're not gaining much from it, but they get to go see a new place, and to them that's still exciting. Like, it's not exciting to Atris anymore so much because he's done it all the time, but like it's still new to them.
Yeah,
Let your little teenage helpers have some fun, all right? Like, come on. I was a little mad at him for
that's
that,
a
but
good
well,
point.
irritated at him for that because it's just like this was useless to stop them from that. I don't know. It's petty. That's what it is. It's petty. But I mean, I guess it's in character too, so it's fine. But why? Also, just like, why is it up to her to find the books? She doesn't know anywhere near as much. Like, we already know Atris doesn't know enough, but he still knows more than she does, and she's the one who's like, well, I must find the books because clearly you're not doing your job finding them. Like, I don't know. And then the book's not about her, supposedly. I don't even know if she continues to be a point of view character after this. I guess I'll find out, which does beg the question, how long is part 2 and can we get halfway through? We could get halfway through easily. This one's small, relatively smallish.
Yeah.
Section. Is there a good stopping point about halfway?
Well, yeah. So do we want to?
I mean, we could try to, like, I can read the whole thing. Will we have time to talk about the whole thing?
No, we won't. So
yeah.
do you? So I have a few quick comments.
Sure. Go ahead.
Should we wrap up with those?
Yeah. You go ahead with your comments. It is all down to what time you have at this point.
Okay.
I was just trying to rush us along so that I wouldn't be overrunning your time too much.
Yeah. So I'll just try to blitz through this.
Sure.
So okay, first of all, so big picture. When I just going back to when I first read this book, at the end of part 1, I was having. So I think there's a fair amount of good that we're seeing so far. There are some problems, but a fair amount of good. But there's one
problems are
big,
expected.
big red flag that I saw that we have not talked about yet.
Okay.
And that is, and audience, chime in here. What major thing that we should be talking about have we not talked about in the book? There's a massive glaring topic that has just not come up at all. Anyone?
I might be ignoring something just because it's just so expected at this point that they just, like, I'm so focused on the things that they aren't discussing enough that, like, I think I might be missing whatever this is.
Yeah,
I am clearly.
I think a year ago you would have picked up on this quickly, but I feel that little piece of your brain has died over the course of this project.
They've killed something in me at this point.
Yeah. It's so what we're missing is, where's Tay?
That is a good question.
What's happening on Tay? And
I think, to me, because I have my way of, like, also seeing the meta at the same time, like seeing the outside, like, not in every book that I read, but this is a particularly different case because this isn't the only form of media in which this story is told, so I am thinking about where were they in terms of the game development and stuff, because this would have been written concurrently with writing Riven. I don't know when they had to wrap for this to send it to publication versus when they had to wrap for publication to get Riven out. And if there was some overlap there where, like, they just didn't have, they didn't really know how that was going. And so Tay's just not mentioned because it wasn't finalized. Like, I don't know if that's a thing.
Yeah. So there is,
I'm not sure.
With concurrent development, you do have to be careful about some topics. I think of how they handled Star Trek Deep Space Nine and Star Trek Voyager, where they
basically ignored each other.
Yeah, they chose to have one of them never bring up a topic so that the other one could bring up the topic, just unregulated.
Right.
But here, I mean, you don't need to know much about the middle of Riven, of the game Riven, to know where the end. And I mean, we know that there's been plenty of discussion of the implications of the end of Riven.
Right. But they haven't really. I don't know what they would have felt like they could talk about or not, because I imagine that their perspective might be different on what was important at the time to keep separate.
Here, let me quote here the final. This is Atris's final journal entry in Riven, and the final part of it reads, quote, "The age of Riven is closed forever, but the people of Riven are free. And now I am at rest, understanding that in books and ages and life, the ending can never truly be written." Now, for Robin, that meant a good, complete ending point. But
Right.
for me, the way I read that is, okay, if you're going to tell more, then one very natural thing to tell more about is about Tay, which is
Yeah.
also at this
Yeah.
point, right? We sold, at this point, there's been, massive numbers of right box games going off the shelves that have Tay on the cover. Like
Well, I mean,
Tay is a big deal at this.
when in the year did these come out? Because they came out the same year, Riven in this book.
I think it's about 3 months apart.
And which one
This
was
this would
first? The game?
the game, yeah.
So yeah, people would have had an opportunity to see it. I don't know if they
Yeah,
would have known that ahead of publication necessarily.
there's
They
plenty of
they
people who
probably
would.
didn't have control,
Well,
right?
my point is, this could have been planned, at least in some general terms,
It could have
to
been.
handle this better. Because again, the question is, what happens what what happens with Tay? Because here's the thing, is Averone
Oh, Spiper has a couple of
is
comments here, which is a
okay.
very good point. They could have recruited people from Tay instead, though there's still the matter of them thinking Atris and Catherine are gods. And then was wondering about Tay and Myst 4 as well recently. Catherine was allegedly vacationing there, or getting away from her husband there. So if we couldn't contact Atris, we should have gone to her instead. We should have gone to her in the first place because Catherine's the smarter
Yeah,
but
so
yeah, I mean, we knew where she was, so
yes.
it's convenient to the story that we don't go find her, but we know where she is.
All of those are good points.
Yeah.
So there certainly are reasons they would be why they would choose to get apprentices from Averone rather than from the Rivenese, right?
Right.
Because Catherine knows that's going to be a big problem for her and for them to be interacting too much together.
Yeah. Yeah.
She knows that's a bad combination. However,
But they don't
you could
address
have a
that.
you could have a
Yeah.
story about that.
Yeah.
We could actually have
You could.
interesting yes. And
I mean, this
and
kind
so
of goes back to the if it's interesting slash important, you will not see it in the books.
that to me is I'm having a big question mark in my mind of just why are we not doing this? Because I do think it's what the fans want. And I think to
I
now
have a new question, a new meta question though.
mhm.
Wasn't Robin like the point guy for writing Riven, right? Like that's why he wasn't involved in the second two books, right? Like they say that in the acknowledgments for they say everything but that in the acknowledgments for the second book, which is like, he's not part of it this time because he's busy doing another Myst project, which we know now was Riven, although that was a year before its release at the time, so they wouldn't say what it was. This is gonna sound weird. Does Rand like believe in Tay at this point? Like it's because we know they diverge on lore. So like how much does Rand care about it? Because he's the one writing the book. So like is
Well,
there that disconnect because is Tay a Robin thing?
my assumption from not my assumption, my inference from
Mhm.
various
Yeah, because you know
statements by
more
various people
outside
is
of
yeah,
the
is that
text information.
both of them were all over Rift. They were thoroughly involved
Okay.
in Rift. I don't
All right.
I don't think that this is a matter
Just a
of
disconnect
Rand was
between
working on
creators.
Averone and Robin was working on
Okay.
Tay, and that's why
Yeah.
this is the issue. I think this is just some
See, yeah, I've
semantic.
stayed away from the outside stuff since I'm trying to just go by the text first. But so I knew you would know, but it was a thought
So
that occurred to me.
it's bad. It's just there's something off.
Mhm.
And there's to me at this point I was feeling there's something weird, and I'm not saying what comes up later and whether some
Right.
of this gets addressed later, but just I find it profoundly strange that again this is the greatest computer game of all time. This is the sequel to it. So this
Right.
book, this book needs to take off its sandals because it is standing on holy ground, right? And um, and I think part of and there's just a lack of a connection with the audience there. And I understand it was just a few months.
Yeah.
Cho had not emerged as the big character that he would become later for fans. I think if this book was being written today, Cho would have to make an appearance in this book. That would be, I think it would be considered
I don't know
outrageous
how
by the
much
fans.
they have and haven't catered to what fans want or think in the
We
past,
know
so it's a little hard for me to say whether they would care.
on show, we know that there's catering now because in
Mm.
Riven 2024 they had that whole
Yeah,
that whole show ninja scene, which is
he gets a
unbelievable.
little bit more to do, we'll
Yeah.
say. Yeah.
Um, so, but the point being that is so I know Joe hadn't developed much, but still,
Mm.
it is directly overlapping the Atrus's and Catherine's relationship with Tay and the Rivenese and their relationship with Averone are very similar, and
Spiper also points
it's
out they also call him Cho in an achievement, so
okay.
they've canonized the name.
Interesting. I did not know that. Well, that's
I'm
just
sure
fun for
I
me, God.
saw the achievement at some point when I was doing that, but I didn't really think about it. Yeah.
I generally don't buy from Steam. Um, but uh, so anyway, so that's my big overarching reaction
Yeah,
at this
that
point
makes
is
sense.
there's something off. There's a disconnect between what I want as a fan and I think what a lot of other fans would want and
Hmm.
what's going on with this
Well, yeah,
book.
I mean, especially what they would have wanted at the time, without further
Yeah,
canon to explore.
right,
Because
right.
I've been approaching it not from a in time perspective, but from a I know Myst 3 exists perspective, to a certain
Mhm.
extent, where I'm looking at the setup for Myst 3 more than I'm looking back to Riven, I think. So it was easy for me to miss the lack of Tay, honestly, because I'm more thinking about how this is almost not bridging the gap between Riven and Myst 3 and just like landing on the side of Myst 3, which I guess part of that is that things like Tay aren't mentioned and they don't address the events of Riven directly. They just address them sort of in an indirect way, like, oh, those months that they were separated, that kind of thing. Like, it's not like he
Mhm.
goes, yeah, after this, and this happened, and then we were separated for months. Like, it's literally just the vague separated for months, right? Um,
Yeah.
it's things like that where it's like it's almost more like it just jumped somehow, and now we're like
Mhm.
approaching Myst 3, and we just don't care about Riven anymore. And I guess I've been seeing it through that lens, so I have just kind of washed away worrying about what they're missing out from Riven. But at the time, it would have been a big deal that they weren't addressing it. It did feel like they were catering to some fans' perception of Gen, since they made him more dense and cartoonishly evil. I don't know if they've made him more cartoonishly evil than Riven made him. Yet anyway. Uh but I do sort of see your point. I think that the thing is, I think that he should be a complex character, but doesn't get portrayed that way in the text, regardless of what text you're talking about. I think the closest we come to a complex portrayal of Gen is in Book of Tiana, when he's a child. Like those brief passages that we have from his perspective, I think are the closest we come to a nuanced portrayal of the man.
But I will say, at least they're talking about Gan here in this book. I mean,
True,
if
true.
so, at least that is mitigating the issue
Yeah,
somewhat.
yeah. Because if they didn't mention him at all, it would be very strange. Partly because of the books already, he's been in both of the other ones, and then also partly because of Riven. Because not mentioning him would just be bizarre.
Yeah.
And maybe to a certain extent, I mean, they wouldn't. The thing is, they would have had to send this to publication before the game was out. If it was, say, 3 months in between, this book would be being printed already by the time they could have seen fans' reaction. So
Yeah.
I wonder
Yeah.
if they just thought that Gen was the only thing people would care about. And so it wasn't worth mentioning the other stuff. I don't know. He was literally
Maybe.
unambiguously feeding people to his pet work on Survey Island for his own personal viewing pleasure, as opposed to keeping other villagers in line. Well, yes. That's why I say, like, the closest we get to a nuanced portrayal of him is when he was 8 years old. I mean, he's definitely full on, like, he's full on villain in Ribbon, 100%.
Yeah, I would just say that it's something to think about. Just keep in mind that
Keep in mind what they're not.
hundreds of thousands, if not over 1 million box sets with Tay on the cover are rolling out in
I mean, they wouldn't.
1997, and they don't feel the need to
Yeah.
mention it at all in the first. But that's just there's something overall, and we can talk about the
I think
complexities of
I think I'm a
projects,
little
but
poisoned by knowing how long it takes to get a book out. So, like, to me, it's like the only thing that they would have known in terms of how people might react to Tay would be that it was on the cover. That would be the only thing that they would have known. They wouldn't have known whether people would attach any importance to it or anything. So it really would be down to what they could guess people might want to see after they played Riven. And I think Gen is a logical through line. I'm not saying Tay isn't, but they may have weighted things differently than fans would weight it. And they would have had no way to know. Absolutely no way to know.
Well, but it's not just
by the time
what the fan reaction would be. It's that this is the story, right? I mean, right now in the story, Catherine has
but I don't think right. I don't think that they think that's important.
About them.
It's also down to what they think is important, though, and I don't think that they think that that's important. I mean, they clearly don't, because they basically don't ever talk about it. I think we can interpret what they felt was important based on what is in the text and what isn't, and Tay isn't, so they didn't think it was important.
Yeah, so I'm just saying that's a problematic choice.
Oh, sure. I'm not trying to argue that it's not problematic. It's just like I think I just am gonna interpret that they just don't care about it because it's not there.
Yeah.
Which, is an unfortunate thing. Should they care about it? Yeah, especially if they're going to keep talking about Katran. Like, they should absolutely talk about what's going on post-Riven, but they're not going to, because that's how they do be. But yeah, did you have other than Tay missing from the text? Did you have other commentary?
Yeah, a couple tiny ones.
Okay.
This is, and we've talked about this before for other things, but I have a big problem from a transliteration perspective that in this text they have the two spellings of Atris. To mark off the different characters. You can't, because I think everywhere else they do have it consistent. They just do it differently in the different versions. Here they're actually being inconsistent, and we know from Myst 4.
Are they being inconsistent? Did they make a mistake somewhere?
They refer to Atris the First with an I in the passage. They give him an I.
Grandpa Atris should have an I.
No.
Our game, he always did. The entire book of Tiana, Atris, son of Kalis, has an I.
But Atris II wasn't in that book. So
sure, but they have to. They're distinguishing it for us. It's not because in Denis they're spelled the same, and it's always been that way.
Yes. Yeah.
It's not inconsistent with how they've done it elsewhere. So I'm not quite understanding the problem.
I will, and this has come up. This came up a while ago. We can skip to another time. I can pull up that, but there are specific problems that I have with it that we can talk about more another time.
Yeah, but at a basic level, it's so that we can tell the difference. I think that's the only reason that they spell it differently.
That is the reason they're doing it. But they are transliterating the same word inconsistently in the same text, and to me that is a no.
I would say that it is, except that it's convenient in this, and it's not the worst of their sins. So this one, I'm willing to let go. I see your point that it is the same, that the names are the same. And so, like, when we're talking about both of them, or like, especially when it's from Atris II's perspective, he shouldn't be thinking of it with an eye. But I don't think he is thinking of it
Yeah,
with an eye. Like, in reality,
yeah.
it's something that we see, but the characters, it has no impact on their world. It's
Yeah.
only for us. It's a
Um,
cheap way to do. It's a cheap way to differentiate them, 100%.
yeah.
But it is a convenient way to do it. I don't know. It's a sin that I've given up on. It bothered me at first because it's like, but they are the same name. But I've caved. I caved a while ago.
We can we can return to this one
Yeah,
later when
it
there's
may
more
become more
time to
relevant.
lay out the issue in
Sure,
more detail.
we
But
are.
let's see. We have just that it's worth commenting that this in real time, in real world chronology, this is the first reference to Anna's death.
Yeah. I guess it
It,
would be,
it's
wouldn't it?
it's been, I mean, strongly implied that she died
Hmm.
around that time. Her last appearance is in the scene when she's playing with Circe and Aconor in the trees on Mist Island, and
Hmm.
it sounds like she dies mm, 5 to 10 years after that.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, they're still children. I think when she dies,
yes,
the
yes,
boys.
yeah, um, and I'll wait to say more about her
Okay,
death until later in the book because I remember I want to make sure I'm remembering certain things before I say more.
okay,
Um,
fair.
but yeah, that's a significant
Okay,
thing.
yeah.
She and let's see, we have another reference to the Great King and about his dreams, which just
Right, and
we need to keep an
the
eye on
king's
that
dream
because
journal.
yeah, because
Yeah.
that's going to become a I mean, clearly the book is caring about that, and I spent a long time last time talking about that issue. So I'm just noting it came up again
It
this
is
time.
just, it is still weird. It still stands out to me. Like, they bring it up, I'm like, okay, this is kind of the first
Mhm.
time that this has been a thing in this book, but all right, I'll go
Um,
along with you, I guess. What choice do I have? It's your book.
yeah, well, yeah, we can skip that one. I did notice. So we have our first uh, scene on Chroma Agana,
Mhm.
and I thought so. It's interesting. It's basically it's clear. I think it's clearly supposed to be like Nest Island.
Oh, 100%. I
Uh,
got confused for a while about where they actually were.
yeah.
I was like, did they go back to
Um,
Mist Island? This is really weird. Why would they do
yeah,
that? They just said they were going back to
and
Chroma Agana, so like, what the heck?
yeah, and it's unfortunate. I think Mist 3 is going to fill in some of the gaps.
Mhm.
But they're not. This is another part. They're just not talking about things because clearly they've left Mist Island. They've
Yeah.
then they made
Yeah.
another Mist Island, and they're not talking
Yeah.
about their feelings
It's
about
like
war.
almost exactly the same. I can
Yeah,
understand why they would leave Mist Island because there's a lot of bad feelings there, but like, why would you make another one that's just like it?
and we know from Mist 3 and Mist 5 too that
Mhm.
is the reason that stayed there is that
Oh, yeah.
it was too toxic of an
Why would you
environment for
want to be there?
emotional
Yeah.
environment.
Yeah. I can understand.
It's just
I would want to
she
leave.
yeah, it's just this is the time to talk about it, and they don't,
Yeah.
which I guess is kind of a recurring thing.
It's,
It's
well, yeah, it's in character for them. They're just not addressing any emotional
um,
issue.
it was interesting. I had not thought about this before, but on Chronogana, there are these references to specific things. There's a reference to the eye pool. There's the reference
Mhm.
to Anchor Rock.
It
Um,
really felt like they
there's
were planning on putting it in a game or something, that the way they were
yes,
describing it so
yeah,
carefully. Yeah.
yes. That was my
Yeah.
reaction too. I had not thought about that until this reading. But
Yeah.
there's and then there's the Oridrian trees,
Yeah.
which
They were
is
very specific. It felt like they had already started writing a journal for a new game or something, and they're just like
yes,
trying, or they had built the model and and they were just describing what they had already built. Like, it very much felt like preparation for it to be in a game, which is then, I mean, I guess, given the way that it was then developed by another company for Myst 3, it's like, did they prep something and then not do it through Cyan? I don't know. but yeah, no, for briefly until they started mentioning on all these other things, you know, the iPhone and everything, I was like, what? Why are we on Myst? When did when did we go back? I'm so confused. Why? Yeah, it's sort of like your moment with trying to figure out where they went when they went to Belarus. My moment was like, why are we on Myst? But it
Yeah.
once I realized it wasn't Myst, it very much felt like they were describing something that they were already modeling in 3D, for example, and getting
Yeah.
ready to put in.
Um, and that's interesting. And
Yeah,
so yeah, I think you had the same reaction there. Um, and or Adrian tree, that's not a real type of tree. I
right.
wondered if that was, but no, actually. So for you and your concerns about John being unnamed, for those who don't know, Anna's father
He didn't get a
is a
name,
major
but they were
character
willing
in
to
this.
name the damn tree. Yeah, Anna's
Roger's been
dad,
calling him John just to
he
cope,
needs a
but
name.
yeah, so John doesn't get a name of these rando trees that are off
Yeah,
kind of in the
yeah,
side of this one being actually get a name.
which feels in
Very
line
odd
with their
choice.
general priorities.
Yeah,
But
is that's it's just it's kind of an interesting thing, and yeah,
yeah,
I do feel like anyway.
yeah,
And
it
then
really
and
felt
then
like prep for something.
and then finally, this is the first time that in this passage, this is the first time that the word mist appears in the book.
You
Yeah,
mean in all of them?
in um,
I mean, for this
no,
book specifically, but
in this book, this is the first.
okay, okay,
This is
okay.
the first
I
use
was
of
like,
the
I'm pretty
word
sure at the
mist.
end of Book of Atris they said something about it, but
Well, yeah,
okay,
yeah,
yeah,
when they're on
yeah,
mist, they talk about mist, but
right.
yeah, when it's this is the first just
First
first
name
appearance
drop in
of
this one.
that word.
Okay,
Yeah, so yeah, that's what I have in terms
yeah,
of.
some good
Uh,
points.
Thank you. Um, in terms of, so here's what I would recommend for the
Okay,
future.
sure.
um, sorry, and I did mean to acknowledge Spiker's point about that. Yeah, you should be able to go. Yes, in Miss Four, you should be able to go get Catherine, and
Yeah.
it's not there. There is a reference to the the descriptive book of Rhyme being in the cleft and not at the Tamana compound. That's where Atris says that at some point. So maybe
Mhm.
he's storing books out there. Other than that,
Mhm.
yes, it's not. It's that is a problem. And you should
Gotcha.
also be able to go to, and you should be able to go to Relation as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
We
yes,
aren't we
yes,
holding that book for a while? Like we totally could.
yeah. There's some odd choices in that department
Yeah.
in that game, but so anyway, sorry. So my recommendation for the future is
Mhm.
I think we can. So part two does naturally divide into two sections.
Okay,
And I think there's going to be, well, I think there'll be plenty of talk about in two sections. So my recommendation is next time is part two, sections 1 through 9, which
okay.
is the 10th section is the one that starts with Atris took charge of.
Oh, took charge of the next expedition. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see
So
that.
that's so prior to that sentence.
Right.
And then after that would be the rest of part two.
Okay.
And I think that will make for May, that gets us through May, and I think a way that kind of makes some sense.
Right. Okay. It's like Serenia, Spire, and Haven are the only ages to want to get XT, says Spiker.
Yeah.
They are because that's the only ones they wanted us to play.
Yeah.
The remorseless psychopath who made Spire. But yeah, okay. So
Okay.
we'll do part one of part two for next time. I was gonna suggest maybe we should like pre-read each part and then just only discuss as far as we can, but then that does deprive things of like me not knowing what happens next.
I think, yeah, I think,
Which for part
you
two
would
might
like.
not be a huge deal because it's shorter, but some of these other parts are a lot longer, and so if I knew like that much context ahead, it would be different.
I fear that you would like spin out and explode or something if we tried to do that.
Maybe. I don't know. We haven't gotten to parts which completely make me explode yet, but we'll get there, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yes, we will.
All right. So, should we wrap for this one? We'll be back week after next since we do it every other week. with more
On
of
Star Wars
this.
Day, actually.
Oh yeah. I guess it would be, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
May the 4th. May the 4th be with me reading more of this book.
Yeah.
But we'll see. All right. So thank you for joining us, Spiper, Astral Orca, anybody else who's been lurking. And thanks for guesting once again, Everett, and helping to go through this wonderful journey that we're on.
Thank you.
So thank you guys, and that'll be it for us. Have a good day, and have a good one, Everett. We'll talk again.
Yeah. Good evening.
So thank you again, and we'll see you in the next one.